evening.
Good evening, everybody.
How's everyone doing?
Doing well,
Doing
doing
good,
well.
doing good. Dr. McKibben, how you doing? Sorry about
I'm
yesterday.
fabulous. Fabulous.
I
What's
didn't
your shirt?
know I
Hmm?
didn't know my body can shut down on me crazy, and I apologize to everybody for yesterday's show.
Oh,
Just
that,
looking to go
that
through.
happens, man. I'm just lucky you're putting in time at all to help all
No,
these different shows and pushing the buttons and running the systems behind the scenes. So I thank
That's
you
true.
for doing
I
it at all.
that's the thing about me. I'm always the person who will go above and beyond to help people. It's just a
Hmm.
bad
That
habit
you
of mine.
do.
Hmm.
But
Yeah,
what I
this
want to
kind
do,
of works
what
for you and against you, huh?
I know. I told Dr. Bennett I want to share a particular song that is a tribute to all the father and the man. And
Okay.
but this song, what I've been telling black men to listen to for the longest, I sent it to him earlier.
Uh-huh.
So I want people to react to this song after the song is played, or to listen to the lyrics. All right,
Cool. You're gonna do that now, or should we
I'll do
warm
that
up to?
right now.
Okay.
But the thing about this song is a deep song. I hope no brother here cry. Nobody be crying over here, please. So all you military guys who watching this, you listen to it, please listen to the lyrics. All right, fair use.
Fair use.
But while you setting it up, I'm gonna just give a few shout outs because we at least warm people up to the. So welcome everyone for being here tonight while CBN is setting up something for you to see, something very special. Mr. Bennett is in the house. Welcome, welcome, sir.
Good to be here.
And
Good to be
CBN is
here.
here. We have definitely gonna have some other people joining us. I see already we have Quantum Dean is in the house, and then we have April, and I'm looking at my screen here. Sorry, I think I saw a couple of
Hot
other
Wings
names.
Lover.
Who?
Hot Wings Lover.
Oh man, say it ain't so. Hot Wings Lover. All right.
Good to have you
So
aboard this
yeah,
evening.
welcome to Black Man Unfiltered, Unfiltered Network, and we look forward to having a fabulous show tonight, Father's Day weekend.
That's
So let's
right.
celebrate, and we're going to start with Mr. Bennett. If you want to say hello or do whatever you want to do, and then do the song, or how do you want to do it?
Now, I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Just kind of give everyone a heads up. Black Man is at an actual Father's Day event. Oh, he's got the video. You can play it.
Sorry about that. I thought make
No
sure it's
problem.
running properly. So hope you guys hear it.
I can't
No, I
hide.
can't hear the. I can't hear the audio.
Can't hear the audio?
I
Yep, now it's playing.
don't understand. I just hope I
Hear it?
can explain
Now we can.
what it's like to be a man. It's a lonely road, and they don't care about what you know. It's not about how you feel, but what you provide inside that home. Yeah, I know this life can really beat you down. You wanna scream, but you won't make a sound. Got so much weight that you've been holding, but won't show any emotion. As a man that goes unspoken, now we can't cry when life gets hard. Unconditional love for women, children, and dogs. We know that we just have to play our parts, and don't nobody give a damn about our broken hearts. Yeah, as a man, we gotta pave our way. Our only function is to work and slave. There's no respect for you if you ain't paid. You're disregarded as a human and you can't complain. And if you ever make it up and actually reach that base and find a woman that you love and give her your last name, you'll feel the things that you provide is only why she stays. And when you try to explain, you'll say, I can't hide myself. I don't expect you to understand. I just hope I can explain what it's like to be a man. It's a lonely road, and they don't care about what you know.
Listen to the second verse.
It's not about how you feel, but what you provide inside that home. Don't give up, keep fighting. As a man, our sun is our horizon. And our father's actions play a role, and we end up like them. So they can't let us see them hurt, cause we'll embody what they do and start a generational curse. No wonder most men are so depressed, all the things that they can't express. They go to war, get thrown on the shelf, then go back to war with their mental health. Then grab that bottle and ask for help, try to pull themselves out of hell, then fall back down and then realize that they're gonna have to do it themselves. It's the circle of life. As a man you provide, they don't know what you're worth till the day that you die, and that's when they start crying. Then move on to a man to confide in. That's why we feel we can't hide ourselves. We don't expect you to understand. We just hope we can explain what it's like to be human. It's a lonely road, and you don't care about what we know. It's not about how we feel, but what we provide inside that home. Inside that home. That home. It's not about how we feel, but what we provide inside that home. Inside that home.
What you guys think about that song?
Interesting. I'm gonna have to probably listen to it at least 4 or 5 times before I can really embrace the content of it. But the theme that kept playing back is it's not how you feel, it's what you provide. So it's definitely pointing to the idea of, you know, men are questioning themselves. It's like, you know, what is my worth, you know, to my family and to my, you know, how do people see me? And so that seemed to be a theme that kind of be throughout the song. But I think it definitely calls out a danger when you say it's not about your feelings. And even in these spaces, we get caught up talking about that. Well, you know, it doesn't matter how you feel, it's about your responsibilities and be a man and things of that nature. But you know, we're body spirit entities. You know, we have emotions, we have, you know, things that have to be managed. And a lot of the things that they were pointing to in the video, those are things that are, you know, some of those things like the wars and whatnot, and going to war and coming back. I mean, those are tragedies that, you have to step up and do. But, you know, we have a lot of broken men out there who are looking for, you know, looking for restoration and looking for meaning. And, you know, certainly shout out to the vets, you know, those who went out and whatnot, and fought and whatnot, and come back and not, you know, have difficulty finding jobs, have difficulty finding a purpose after serving the country. So yeah, so it's a national crisis. And I remember there was a recent CNN segment where you had this gentleman, and I think I got a bookmark. I can certainly share the link. I might have talked about this before. He was talking about the last time that America actually invested specifically in men was after World War II, when the vets came back. You had 7 million soldiers who came back, and that's when you had the housing act to get the loans. First time FHA was created, and the also the education to go to school. So that actually helped to build the middle class of America, because a lot was poured in. The guys who, you know, those war factories were turned into commercial factories. So those guys had jobs when they came back. So there was just a lot of investment for those men who came back. But that was the last time. Since then, you know, with factories closing, with just the increasing, cost of things, automation, all these things, I think men are looking for, what is my purpose? Is my purpose more than just a paycheck that I provide? And, so it's something that men have been talking about some time, but I think guys are getting a lot more vocal about it. And I think as a nation, I think it's time to address it seriously. as an issue in and of itself without it necessarily being paired. I mean, women, women, children, they have their own issues that we certainly need to address also. But I think a lot of it starts with the man. If you don't fix the man, then it's going to go.
But to interject what you're saying, if you remember what he said in the song, the only people who get unconditional love with women, children, and dogs. How often you hear men talked about it in that type of sequence?
Yeah,
he mentioned that in the first one verse.
Right.
And when I first heard the song the first time, I'm not gonna lie, I broke down in tears. I was like, damn, they hit home. And when you were talking about the factory job, imagine all the factories were being outsourced out of the country. And a lot of men were losing their job. And they're trying to figure out, what can I do next? How many jobs that can I look to? So when the first verse was one thing, the second verse got even worse. You see the father going through the bills, like, okay, what can I pay first? And you turn around, he sees his song, he talk about generational curse.
Right.
Imagine how many men have to carry that type of burden in themselves. And what would the unspoken word? Men don't complain. You just suck it up and keep it moving.
Right.
Go back to the first verse. Looking for the woman who could give you a last name. Hoping that you'll be there if you provide. This is why I want black men to listen to that song for a long time, but he must have skipped it. That video have been out for 2 months right now. It have over 8.6 million views. I shared the link in the back. I'm going to put the link in the chat. If you go through the comment, I try to go at least down 50 comments.
Who's the entertainer? Dax?
Dax, D-A-X.
All right. Yeah, I caught in the well, actually, when you brought it to my attention, the second verse, but the first one I do recall not knowing what it takes to be a man, like the bills, like all the behind the scenes type of things that we don't get credit for.
Yeah.
But what I took away was he was saying it's not even about that. I mean, it's like just be proud to be that man, right? Be proud to be that man. All the disappointments, all the things you're supposed to do. And then I remember the guy who went in the house, he sit in the car first. And I think we talked about it on shows, right? Then we talked about how sometimes dads go home and just sit in the driveway for a couple of hours, right?
Right. Don't want to go in and deal with
before you even go in the house. So I caught that in the video, like, oh, look at that. And he finally got it together. But he put the smile on his face, so his little girl, right? He's not going to tell I was sitting out there going through this emotional. He went in smiling, day. So yeah, I caught that. Good stuff. Good find. Good. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
And here's that. I followed this artist for a while. He did a lot of great and powerful songs. One he did before this was called Hello Alcohol, for the people who are going through the alcohol issue.
Oh,
that one would if you go to his channel, you'd be surprised. He have a few impactful songs that was so heavy. It hit the airway in both the US and in Canada. It got to a point people were doing their own remix. So he did a Hello Alcohol challenge. Over 100 people put their own version, and only select few would end up being on the mega remix. Just today, I just found out he did a remix of this song and picked about 10 people who applied to be a man challenge, and it also on his YouTube channel. I'm telling you, really, I want men to hear this song because the second verse was more critical.
Right.
All the men who went and joined the military went through all the trauma they've been through. And they're going back-to-back tours. Some people had to, what did they say? You go to the bottle, keyword alcohol, based on the last impactful song that he did. That's what their therapy. Remember Trey say his therapy is to go to the gym and work out, so he wants to live all the trauma.
Right.
And look how this song played itself.
Yeah. Also, I get it. So that's what he was saying, that no wonder they'll go and do a second tour. No wonder they'll kind of like dive into these things. Even alcohol, I think that's what he mentioned, because guys, I saw the video guy was drinking and stuff.
And toward to the end of the second verse, which I know a lot of men, I hate to say that was the most dreaded part of the song. That many times men are not given the credit where they credit due until they pass away.
Right.
By the time they passed away and they realize how much work their man did, the only person who will comfort them and another man will take over their place.
Right. But then here's the challenge, because if I'm hearing this correctly, on one end, and not that he said it, but on one end, it sounds like the people don't know and we don't tell them. Like they don't know all behind the scenes stuff that I deal with just to be a man. On top of that, be a father. So on one end, they don't know and I don't tell, but then it's after the fact that they might find out or someone may speak to it. So I guess the question is, not in a bragging, I mean, not in a pat my back way, but should we have those conversations so people understand the sacrifices that go with it?
I'm glad you asked that question, because here's the part about it. In all the past conversations we have, wasn't that a thing whereby they don't want men to get too emotional, don't want men to complain about what they go through? Because if you say such a thing, they think that you're being weak. Ain't that the thing that we put upon men for many decades?
Right.
That's why I say when I played that song, I remember Mono time man, we reacted to that song a few weeks ago, and he almost cried live while he was doing the reaction. And he was saying like, he said, before I played, this is his first time seeing the song. He said, I've seen a lot of dark songs that are very impactful, that got him thinking. When he played this one, he was like, generally speaking, there's too many parts in this song that relate to a lot of men, whereby we can't tell the woman what we're going through, what we're dealing with, kind of environment that, because when we complain about it too much, it comes as if we are being
But how do I pass on that legacy? I mean, not just my actions, right? Our actions, but are there things that we should be speaking to as fathers and kind of making that known on how we got to why we do what we do? What do you think? Or is that not important?
This is why when I heard that song 2 months ago, I was thinking they're going to be the talk or the topic for the next who know how many months, because I saw over 1,000+ reaction, and listening to the conversation, one guy, he didn't even pause. He just stayed there in that emotion, and he was like, I can understand how my dad went when he wanted to explain, but he couldn't explain. And you look up to, so when I watch these men, genuine emotion after listening to the song and trying to get their thought together, I hear different story in different places where they can relate to a certain part of the song. The one thing that comes that stuck out is that today's society don't give men a lot of grace. On Mother's Day, you get a huge celebration. You do the whole recognition. Father's Day is more like, oh, okay, happy Father's Day. Keep it pushing. There's not much reference for father as much like it should be. You don't see a whole lot of program built around it. But when I look at different part of the song, you see a man coming from home, stay in the driveway. How often we see a lot of men be in the driveway for at least 20, 30 minutes?
A couple of
trying
hours.
to collect themselves, trying to collect their thought. Whatever they're going through, they just sometimes they want to scream, but you gotta make sure your car is soundproof the way you scream from outside. So if you have to put the tilt and wheel, just let it all out. Suck it up before you go inside. Hey, you wear a mask. I remember in the church call that you wearing a mask, wearing a fake mask, not showing your jet, because you don't want the people who you love too much to see your hurt and your pain, because it will trouble them.
Yeah.
How many men who lost their job during the pandemic and they're trying to find a way to pay the bills? Second verse. You don't think that will relate to a lot of guys? The past 2 years during the pandemic, where they lost their authentic job, they're not allowed to work from home because the job they do for a living don't require them where they'll be on site. But since it has it, what would they get for unemployment? You got to figure out what bill you pay off first. But at the same time, you're sort of like, oh, I want to play, but in your head, you're trying to figure out how I'm going to keep the roof over their head.
Right.
That trauma built it. The second verse part was related to Mandra and his crew.
Yeah.
He went to the military, PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
You said it, Mr. Bennett said the last time they invested in men was back in World War II. So all the veterans who come out here trying to get their life back together, how much investment did they put in place to keep them whole? So they won't go to the drugs, they won't go into the alcohol. But Mandra said his friend decided not to be here no more. I dedicate that song to him.
Mandra, did you see? Good evening to you, Mandra. Did you see the video? They just played. CBN, you want to play the guy? I know Mr. Bennett didn't catch the very beginning of it.
I will drop the link.
Just want to say to everyone who's to everyone that's joining us tonight. I know we got Night-ish in the building tonight. Thank you for coming through. The world class. What's going on? Queasy, Fearson in the house. E-Man, haven't seen you for a while, brother. Good to see you. Thanks for stopping by and shouting out to us this evening. Good to see you, E-Man. So again, we're over here tonight. Again, this is Father's Day weekend. So Black Man, he's actually at a father's conference as we speak with his son. And I was excited for him to be there until I found out, unfortunately, one of the guest speakers there was Dak Prescott of the Sorry Cowboys over there. So that's the only so I knew it was going to be trash as soon as he sent me a picture of Dak Prescott from that conference. That this is probably not going to be a good thing. But Tony Evans is there. He's one of the speakers. It's actually being hosted by Tony Evans' son. So again, they have George Foreman's there. So again, a power-packed panel one. I'm just kidding about Dak Prescott. I'm sure it's fun.
And I apologize for the Father's Day shade that just went down.
Sorry to interrupt, but don't play the video twice. I'll just have to go back and look at it because I mean, what we're trying to do is avoid copyright strikes and stuff like that because
I know
we get a lot of those.
I know, and the guy's independent, and he like people to like the party. I want people to hear and listen.
Yeah, because the fact you played it the first time, you already got a notice already. Like since you played it earlier tonight, we already got a YouTube notice, a warning. Okay. So that's what I'm saying. Don't play it twice because they'll strike the video then, and maybe strike the channel. We don't know, but for the sake of that, to avoid that,
what I would do is I would share a link to everybody on the chat. Some people have already seen the song already.
I'm gonna have to probably listen to it 3-4 times, just to kind of get into my mind a little bit.
Some people have already seen the song already and they know exactly what it is because the guy's an independent artist. That's number one. He's under no record label. He's also another Canadian-born Nigerian. Monumental Man also responds to the song as well.
Here's the thing. I'll tell you this about this whole thing about manhood and all that stuff. Number one, people don't know what being a man is. They don't these days. And I didn't believe for the longest time that because I heard this whole thing about, well, masculinity is under attack. I never believed that, to be honest. Never believed it until recently. The dots do connect. There does seem to be a I don't think it's a direct agenda to attack masculinity specifically. It's all about money, and it's that's just period. It's all that's if you want to know what the root cause is, it's about money. It's far more profitable to market towards femininity than masculinity, and to make women feel good, to get them to buy products and support causes and donate money to certain politicians and things like that, and super PACs, and you got the LGBTQ people. That whole that whole thing going on there, and market towards them. They spend money, they donate money. That's what it's about. Masculinity, I guess they figured that's just going to be here regardless. But if you make it okay for people to breed it out of their sons, that's not going to happen. You know what I mean? So. And again, people don't know what masculinity is. People don't know what manhood is, and a lot of things that women don't know is what the men are doing that you don't see. Like a lot of women will say that. Okay, I've heard women complain on panels, not just this one, but other ones as well, that he doesn't put enough effort into it. So I remember asking, like, do you know what he's doing when you're not around? What do you know what the things that he's doing that you don't see? Because me personally, I do a lot of things that, like if I'm dating somebody, she's just not going to see. But then I just pop up with the result. You know what I'm saying? She never knew I was working on this in the background, but here's the result, and she sees it and she's happy about it. But you know, that's the thing. People have to be patient when it comes to stuff like that, because ladies, y'all don't know what that guy's doing. You don't know what kind of surprise he's going to come up with. But if you keep hounding him about it, you're never going to find out. Or if you hold it against him, you're never going to find out. You know, ask, people don't ask, and people don't ask questions. Go ahead, ask a question.
Because I heard when we talk about the attack on masculinity, or are we the marketing campaign was an attack? I mean, is that what we're saying? Like intentional to break up this thing about man and masculinity, so the attention or the whatever goes towards femininity, or are we saying that it was just a strategic thing that turned into an attack?
Well, it was a strategic thing to market and increase profit and increase donations and things like that, and it happened to turn into this thing. It's just like the breaking up of the black family, right? And people talk about that. I'm like, no, but that broke up white families too, and other races as well. The whole thing was getting women out of the house from being housewives into the workplace, because if you get women out of the house and they own a job, they have to pay taxes, right? Literally, that's literally all it was about.
Right.
That's a fact. That is true. And a lot of people don't know it, but it's true. But the result of that is the result of the domino effect. One of those dominoes that fell was the family. So it separated families, because now women can work and make their own money, and you know, so on and so on. That's the end result of something that was very simple. You know what I'm saying? And kind of juvenile to do, but you know, it's a little greedy, but kind of juvenile to do. It wasn't. The idea was harmless. The implementation of it was actually harmless as well. However, what happened was extremely harmful. So that's what I'm saying. This whole thing with masculinity.
Your point, I think I agree with a lot of what Mandrell, but again, unpack the layers as I started out with. Unfortunately, men create wars. Okay. So again, if you go back to particularly World War II, I'll keep it local to the U.S. World War II is what drove a lot of women out of the homes into the factories. That created that working class of women, that created that market for new products. Plus, you also have capitalism, which is always about capitalism. I don't think necessarily pick sides. Capitalism is about, again, the creation of profit. So again, so now that you got this new audience, now that you have this group that you can market to, what was the negative side effect of that? Because like I said, once the soldiers came back, again, FHA, the GI Bill, all those things that helped men to move into the middle class. But now women are now still part of the permanent working class, and that never moved off. And so again, women are the buyers, are the consumers. When we talk about marriage, talk about rings, like I don't know, like this idea of like, if you were supposed to get an engagement ring for a woman, it's supposed to be 2 months of your salary in order to get a good ring. But that came from De Beers, the diamond.
I thought it's 5 months rent of your 5 months of your salary.
I heard it was 2. It might have gone up, but the original campaign that came from De Beers, the diamond company, as a marketing campaign again to women. So it was, again, as you saw how these advertisers, how these companies, again, for the pursuit of profit and capitalism. We all know about Valentine's Day, how expensive Valentine's Day is, and all these holidays or whatnot. They're all, they can throw as much into it as they want to. But most holidays, what makes something a national holiday more times than not has nothing to do with necessarily the thing that you're celebrating. If money can be made from it, why something becomes a national holiday or whatever, if it's going to give you time off, what are you more than likely going to do there? You're going to go to the mall, you're going to go somewhere, you're going to spend some money.
Right.
So I think all of these things are contributors to this side effect of, when you made women and people understood that it's actually women who are because remember, go back to like back in like early on, those early advertisers, they were like cigarettes. Like you had like literally like doing baseball games or football games, people were promoting male masculine products, cigarettes or beer or something, something to that effect. And see how the advertising has changed to where it's certainly much more catering to, again, women's interests. So I think that, I think I think that's an effect of capitalism, is that they're certainly going to where, and people invest a lot of money into this in terms of marketing. How do you market? You get the woman, you get the family, so to speak. And that's just been proven time and time again. So I think, that's always going to be part of the equation. So to answer your, I just want to add some more context to your question, but I think Manuel succinctly said it. It is the latter. It's a byproduct of these campaigns.
So here's a part two to that. So because now I see the war happening, the need for the manufacturers to keep operating. We need the women to come out. So was it at that point the husbands and the men were pushing back, saying no? Because when I think about that marketing, I can't think of that one. That famous picture with the lady doing the muscle like this?
Yeah, we can do it. Yeah.
Yeah, we can do it, right? Yeah. So was that to push to say, no, we need you in the factories, and whoa, we have a market out here now making money? Or was it, we need women, go out there, they do the job, and then they're spending more, the value is going up, and then someone capitalized on that and said yes, but the husband said no, and then it was
the husbands weren't home. Right. Again, these women, they built, the B-29 bombers, the B-52 bombers were basically built by women in factories. They weren't necessarily the engineers and the designers, but they were on the assembly lines. Again, America going into World War II. In fact, I was just watching a documentary on it. In fact, in every war that we've ever been in, we have been very lax to prepare for the effort. We didn't go into World War II ready, like had our, we were years behind. You had other nations whose militaries were built up more than ours was. So again, that major war effort had to be built up. Right. And with so many men being deployed in the combat and whatnot, again, those assembly lines for the war effort. So again, you're not even talking about manufacturing for consumer goods. You're talking about just the planes and the rivets and the bullets and the ammunition, the planes that was needed. Women did that. But I know certainly for the 29 and the 52 bombers, most of those planes were built by women.
They're working in the factories and they're on the assembly line. And so you have to understand how fast America learns, honestly. And people underestimate this and they don't even put any thought into it. I wouldn't have put any thought into it either until I saw it for myself with my own eyes. Just this past war, Afghanistan and Iraq, right? People have no clue how much we learned in this 20-year conflict. The only thing they see is the loss. But when it comes to things like medical techniques, in the first 3 years of the war, if you had like a really, really severe injury to your arm or leg, they would cut it off, right? And you'd be that person.
Right.
But in 2004 or 5, I'll say about 2005, that's when they started doing, like they had already like been developing techniques along the way. But by 2005, they had it. They're like, okay, we don't necessarily have to amputate the limb if it's severely injured. Now we have this technique, that technique. Today, what the Mayo Clinic is doing is absolutely amazing. It's borderline sci-fi stuff.
Right.
With robotic stuff and
not even with that, just repairing the arm,
right,
without having to amputate.
Right. Well, even hold on, Mandrell, wasn't that also developed around World War I?
No. They chop it off. You had the hook thing in World War II. That's the best you got.
But anabolic steroids was created generally to help men recover from wartime injuries.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's drugs and stuff like that. Yes, we had different drugs and medical techniques there that seem archaic today, but yes, they did. We learned it really fast. So when it comes to this situation, you had the women. Now we know. So World War II, women were on the assembly line building war vehicles, right?
Yeah.
So now we know, hey, women can work.
Yep.
They can work. Okay, they don't have to. They're not weak like they have to sit at home. They can do more than secretary work. Why don't we open up these things? So they talk to captains of the industry. Why don't you open your doors to women working in your businesses? Okay, cool. It's more, you don't have to pay them as much because they're women. They're not doing as much work as men, so you still save money, but you get more production. That was the logic behind it, right? So they did that. Then the government says, "Hey, let's make a real big push for this because they're paying taxes. So that's more tax money for us. There's more people in the workforce."
It's like
and
doubling.
that's literally all there was to it. The domino effect, however, what people did with that is what we have is what we see today. You know, it's just it wasn't necessarily the government's fault. It wasn't some master plan. It's just like, hey, we're just trying to get more tax dollars. Y'all did the rest, and that's literally that's their scapegoat for it. That's how they get out of it. And no, y'all chose that, and they're right. We did choose it. You can't say we didn't.
Right.
You know, and it's,
now, would you say fathers?
Huh?
I said, would you say fathers were more appreciated then, or less, previous to that push? Would you say they were actually celebrated? But since part of this campaign, also included men getting pushed out of the equation, fathers pushed out of the home, programs invited, permission givers invited to leave or divorce. Would you say fathers were actually appreciated before this campaign?
I wouldn't say they were more appreciated back then, because I say that back then, the reason why it's so hard to say, I lean on the side of no, but I could be wrong. So I leave that open. I say that because people were, for the most part, forced to stay together. Like they were in this marriage, and if you wanted to have any kind of upward mobility at all, you had to stay married and figure that out. You had to figure it out. Today, people look at relationships back then, and they're just like, yeah, but they stayed together all this time. That's because they figured it out. They stayed together, and they figured it out. Today, people are not staying together and they're not figuring it out. But that's a big lesson that people haven't been taught. They haven't learned. And the people of yesteryear, they didn't know realize that that's what they were doing in the first place. They did, but they didn't know how to teach it. So that's why people are missing that lesson. They just say, well, you get together, you work it out, and y'all keep moving. Like that's the best you pretty much get when you ask questions. Just go out there and hope you do good and try to do good, and I think y'all will be all right. That doesn't tell you anything, That doesn't tell you anything. So, but people of yesteryear, they stayed together because they had to, for mostly out of necessity, and they were in a position where both people were forced to figure it out and figure out a way to make this work. And that's what it takes to maintain a long-term relationship. However, today, people are either they don't know or they're just flat out unwilling to do that. Right. And that's why marriages and relationships do not work today. People don't want to figure it out. They're impatient, impulsive, and very selfish.
Well, you bring up a good point. I'm sorry. You bring up a good point, and I think, Mr. Bennett, I'm trying to think of which show it was, but I think you mentioned this before, or responded to someone about, they would say back then the women had to stay because they were financially financially dependent. But now I'm listening to what Mandrell said, but the industry knew that the women were making money. So where's the financial codependency that they had to stay when the push was, no, we want you out of the house, we want you making money. So what happened to now where it's not even an issue about if you have the money or not. It's even the willingness. It's even what happened to commitment.
People don't want to be committed. They'll say, "I'm committed," but when they're faced, and they'll be committed when things are going well, but when they're faced with a situation that's difficult, or adds a bit of stress, or is uncomfortable. They just then that's when the instinct of self-preservation comes into play, and they rather bail rather than just ride out the storm and come out far better on the other end.
Far better though. I wonder if people know what that far better is.
That's a good point.
Right.
I mean, 'cause we don't talk
understand your
about.
question.
Oh, yes, sir.
Can you repeat your question again? You talk about there was a time because I thought I pinpointed it to I said World War II was a major shift.
Yeah,
I think in a lot of respects in terms of the economic engine, and which trickled down to the family dimension. So I think a lot of that's there, but I want to make sure that I understood your question.
Because I was thinking, well, the families. So if the men went to war and the women said, "We are stepping up, our country," they did it for the country as well as for their families.
Right.
So, husband, you go handle the business. We got your back. We're going to be putting the ammunition and stuff together. But now there's this other group out there seeing the money, seeing taxes being paid, seeing how this production is going, and it's not the men. Like women can do this too. So then I was thinking, well, was there collaboration between wife and husband saying, we will do this and we are making money? Or was it the husband saying, no, that's not your role. I don't want you out of the house, but I understand you have to do X, Y, and Z. But when I get back, then whatever this campaign was to push. So now there's a separation. So I was wondering, well, then what happened to the argument about women had to stay because they were financially dependent in those marriages, so they wouldn't leave. But I wonder if it was more commitment than it was about the finances. I know there were family where they had to stay because of finances. Right. But if that's the case, we could say that today. We now have two-parent incomes or two-parent homes because we need the income, but people are leaving even faster than they did before. So what happened to the financial dependency?
Well, I think it's gradual, but I think
it's gradual and it's twofold. Okay. Yeah. Again, keep in mind that women weren't paid anywhere near what men were being paid. So while a man can afford a house and the white picket fence and stuff like that, there's no way a woman could afford that on her own back then. So she was still dependent on her husband. But the thing is, what she was making was just extra income to the household. So they could either invest it or have disposable income to go on trips and stuff like that. So women were still not at the same level as men.
Right.
You know,
hold on. Can you put it in context?
Can I clarify your question, Mr. Bennett? I was answering his question.
But I would say, but it's a gradual, because I think it could very well be it's like, hey, you get back, hey, that's great, we're both working, we got more disposable income.
Right.
But then what is the byproduct of that? Do you have more of an equal voice in terms of the conversations, in terms of how the household runs? The dynamic between men and women, again, more women going to school, more women getting educated. And Drew mentioned as far as the women may not getting equal pay. But again, once you get in there and start making money, then you start asking the question, well, why aren't we getting more money? So I think it's a trickle of things that came in the decades following in terms of that dynamic between men and women changing. And then the other wars that came out, because it was like 9 years later, we were in Korea. And then Vietnam after that, and that whole social upheaval. Then you have the confluence of the civil rights movement with the women's rights movement. So again, it was just, there were so many changes in the country around that time, the 40s, 50s, 60s. That was just such a radical shift in the dynamic where people were questioning their quote unquote traditional roles that men and women belonged into. And so I think, that whole,
and part of that role, they didn't have that power. They didn't even get it right. They didn't even have voting power. So part of that role was you don't make those type of decisions, let alone if you have the money.
Well, let's also put in context. After the World War II, I remember that the document they had on the History Channel called "Man That Built America." After World War II, they came the boom of the industrial age, if I'm correct.
The who?
The boom of the industrial age, because when most of the men came back from the military, from World War II and etc., it was a shift whereby the women was being replaced by the men workers. We have a lot of manufacturing plants all over the country at that time, right? We are competing with other international countries when it comes to manufacturing. When it comes to car, truck, or vehicle, or an appliance, or whatever needs to be done. There was also a shift whereby the colleges were now designed to trying to cater for a different major that will fit to the one where they can have a place in the workforce arena. I believe that was the start of the blue collar worker job was first started. along the line, I believe the white collar job came right after that.
Yeah,
That is correct.
Computers, information age.
Bingo.
I mean, again, your first age of computers came after the war.
So if you think about the transition that took place during the industrial age, the men came back, took over the manufacturing jobs. There were multiple manufacturing. We're not manufacturing cars, you're manufacturing steel. If you're not manufacturing steel, there's other byproduct you are manufacturing that was being sold domestically and internationally as well. But during that transition from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, let's not forget there was another transition that came into play when it comes to outsource. People, we have CEOs, execs looking for how can they make a profit when they compete with the international global market.
Right.
That way it hurt a lot of blue collar jobs with a lot of jobs being shipped out.
Right.
While those jobs were being shipped out within the blue collar regions, the white collar job was not being affected.
Right.
So when you look at the demographic, during World War II, you have a lot more women during the blue collar era in the blue collar job. Post World War II, post Vietnam, the transition of women leaving the blue collar job, moving more into the white collar job, whereby it's less stressful, it's easier, and somewhat the payment will be a little bit more than was expected.
Yeah. Well, who was taking care of the children during all this?
That's where the question comes to play, because if I'm correct, women were working long hours like men were working long hours back in the 50s, 60s, 70s. Am I correct?
Not I don't think not the long hours. If there was going to be, for example, if there was going to be a second job, it'd be the man. You either worked at the factory, you took an extra shift, you took overtime, or you had a second job. You came home, showered, ate, or whatever, served the family, and you went to another job or whatever. So again, she might have worked, but it was certainly something that was local. Maybe she did clean houses. Maybe she did something, that where she could be there for the kids. When they got home from school. So certainly,
I'm glad you said that one, Imco. When you're having that conversation, the first thing came to mind is I remember seeing the documentary, and there was a time map of what took place after the war. What was the transition that took place? Where was the man moving to? It wasn't manufacturing, it was construction. There was a lot of construction was being done during the post-war era, if I'm correct. The pipeline, the roads, the bridge. Now, if I remember correct, not every man got drafted out to the military. Some men remained behind to do certain jobs that required the level of supervision. Like you said, women were on the assembly line, but there were some men that were doing supervision, making sure the job was done a certain way. So I don't want to leave out doing information. So when you're doing all you're doing with a time map. When all these men were doing these things, that's what the boom of the middle class. Am I wrong or am I right?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I said, those efforts that came out of World War II, that literally helped to build the middle class.
That's why I want to keep that in perspective, because during the middle class, a lot of men were able to afford a home, a house, a car, move out from the ghetto and move to the suburbs. That's what the commercial of the American dream. You can come here, you work blue collar job, you bust your ass, you come home, you get a good course meal, and we have Mr. Draco.
And you can forget about it now. The middle class.
So was the Great Depression before middle class?
Yes, definitely.
Yes. The reason I asked about that is
after the war.
The reason I ask is because when we talk about, now fathers or men could buy their homes, their family homes, but a good number of men left the home because they couldn't provide. You had some who were willing to stand in the unemployment line.
And that's when the transition, when the job was being outsourced. Most of them were manufacturing job, because at the point you have all the executives compete among themselves, and they realize, what? Do I have to have a plant here when I can take it outside the country and get it done cheaper? So look at Detroit. Detroit was the headquarters at the time for the automobile industry. Now it's a shell of itself. So when you look at all the manufacturing plants that got yanked out of the country and shipped overseas, who would affect them more, the men or the women?
Absolutely.
The Great Recession, who would affect them more, men or the women? These happened when they were outsourcing blue collar jobs to different locations out of reach of the blue collar men, with majority came from the military.
So then, So then, how do we rebound? Because the talking points are about fathers being no good, fathers not being there. But as I listen to you, we have generations back where the father wasn't available, but their intention, back to what Mandrell was saying, no, they weren't talking about what they were doing, but they were sacrificing to go provide for their families, or the ones who aborted it and said, I can't do it, I can't take care of my family, I'm out. But how did they rebound? Did we ever rebound from that?
No,
I don't think so. I do
No.
not think so because think about it. The pipeline, the man was out of the home for months. Talking about building a pipeline from one side of the country to another side of the country.
Oh yeah, pipeline. Also, keep in mind that the international the highways,
Bingo,
the cross country highway system. That was an Eisenhower. That was an Eisenhower project that built the road so we can travel country. So all those natural products, the dams, the like I said, the major development of the nation, dams, roadways,
and don't forget the oilage.
Mm-hmm.
Don't forget the offshore oil rig. How long these men were away
Tennessee
from
Valley.
home?
I mean, yeah, all these major infrastructure projects happened after the war.
Okay.
So we can't get away from that. That was a major shift. That was a major turning point in the country was in that time, and a lot of these issues that we've been talking about, we've been dealing with at that time. But doctor, do you mind if I'm going to make a bit of a shift. First of all, Brother Driscoll from Family Values TV, thank you for hopping on with us tonight. Hope everything's well. How's number 8 treating you?
Oh, lovely, man.
Awesome. Shout out to the chat. Thank you so much for being with us. So we got Testify joined us tonight. Quantum Dean of Metaphysics with us. Beautiful and animated. Sir Hill Speaks. Thank you for joining us tonight again. This is
Swole brother. Sir Hill. Call him Swole, man. Don't
Swole Hail. Some Sir Hill Swole Hail. But putting in the work in the gym. I got to give him, the moms is, I got to work on my game. I train tomorrow morning. But I wanted to, because this is Father's Day weekend, I wanted to do a shift a little bit. And I'm glad Driscoll joined us because I wanted more, again, love having Mandrell and Doctor on. Doctor, do you have any kids?
I've been successful a few times, but
no, I'm saying, do you have children? Or your father?
Yeah, I've been successful a few times. But
now that's awesome.
Yes,
that's awesome.
I've 3 sons and 1 daughter.
God bless you. God bless you. Awesome.
Yes.
I did not know that until I just asked you tonight. Salute.
Oh yeah. I keep them up to YouTube.
Hold on. I need to deal with Trey. What do you mean by this, Trey?
He's just hating.
Trey what do you mean by this, Trey?
Troller Trey. That's going.
I think I'm the only one on this panel who has no children.
No children, but I want your input still. So
you got blank.
I am a father and a grandfather.
Awesome.
So I got double time over here.
What say that, Doc?
Huh? No, I said. I saw you shooting blanks. But listen.
No, they're not. No. They're not blanks. It's just, no. It's just my shot group got to get tighter. That's all it is.
Right. Hey, but do you guys consider adoption as part of like a real parent?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's going to segue. I wanted to segue into some questions. I wanted to I wanted to keep it a little bit lighter tonight. And I wanted to go into I want to celebrate fatherhood a little bit tonight. Good
evening, Ricky Williams. I hope you could come on the panel because we
that out absolutely. But I have some questions that I just wanted to kind of pass around the panel, and I want to get some from fathers, from first of all from a son's perspective, but then from a father's perspective, certain things as far as what fatherhood has meant to us since many of us have. Decided to embark on this journey. One thing that I want to start it off with, since everyone's a son. So again, Mandrell, you don't have kids, but everyone here has been a son. So one of the things I want to ask, Brother Jay, salute to you. Welcome aboard, Jay.
Happy Father's Day to you men out there.
Appreciate you being on with us. One thing I wanted to ask was, and again, you might not be able to answer this with just one thing, but from those of us who've either had fathers or father figures, because I know not everyone has grown up with a father in the house. I know, Dr. Kume, you talked about your experiences growing up in a different place that you lived in, but as far as your as far as those men who've impacted you as a father figure or an adopted father or whatever, what are the biggest lessons or lesson that your father taught you? Right. So again, if you grew up with your father, now again, some of this, what I'm going to ask, some of this might come from what they didn't teach you, but you learned from it. In other words, it was the sort of situation that your father did not do something, but you were determined because of that poor example that you decided that you would not replicate whatever it was. So what did your father teach you that was good, that still sticks with you today, that you want to pass on to your kids? Or what through his inaction did motivate you to be the man that you are now? To start with, you can start with Doctor, if you want to start. Well, let me start. I think for my dad, the biggest thing that he taught me was simply his work ethic. Because this man, it didn't matter how late it was, it didn't matter if he was sober or not. He had this thing where he had to go to work. That was his thing. Like if he was nothing else, he had to go to work for his family. So for me, even in what I do, I'm very much like, I don't eat the bread of idleness. I got to be doing something. And so his work ethic was really something that modeled. We didn't get along. We didn't have a lot of interest. We didn't come to ball games. We didn't, have a lot of, daddy experiences, maybe play some spades every once in a while. But his main thing was that you always took care of your family. And that was something that just never left me. And as I, became a father, and as I, certainly raised my family, and, he's no longer with us. He died in 2018. But that's something that just rang in my ear just more and more. But that was always something that was a driver for me growing up. So that's my end. But if guys just around the table, if you want to share from your perspective, what your father, what impact, what did he tell you? So or something, it might have been something that he said or saying that he said that just stuck with you. Doctor, go around the room.
So I have some father figures. So because my father is also my step grandfather. So his not showing up or not being in my life taught me the power of secrecy. Like I could never ask him, like, whoa, wait. You with my grandma and my mom? In his absence, I had to learn that I won't always get the answers to things. I'll never get that answer from him. So I've actually learned the power of accepting I won't find out everything or know everything. There's another person in New York. I didn't really have this black versus white. I grew up in Spanish Harlem, and it's like a melting pot. So Puerto Rican, Dominican, white.
It still is. It still is Spanish Harlem.
Yeah. So PS 28 parent night.
Also, area.
Oh, okay. One of my foster homes. One of my foster homes that I
should near Manhattan, Spanish Harlem. That's around the area.
Yeah, my sister lives in Spanish Harlem right now.
Okay. My last foster homes, I went through 7 different foster homes. My last one, my foster mom said, "This is your last one," and she had lupus. But when she was sick, she would not call the agency. She would just call the neighbors. Mr. Phil, Caucasian. He taught me the power of showing up, and I never knew he was intoxicated. The other day on the Shoo show, when we were talking about showing up, I was in a school play, and my mom couldn't make it. Foster mom couldn't make it. And I just had the town crier scene, ringing the bell, ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling, 6 o'clock, and all is well. I'm like 8th to bow at the end of the play, and out of nowhere, there's Mr. Phil. I'm like, oh my gosh, dude. So on parent-teacher night, he would show up. I'm his father. I'm like, come on, man, hey. And I said, "You're not my father." And he leaned into me ever so gently and said, "Well, where is he?" And I'll never forget that. And I learned the power of showing up, even if it's, like not that kid, not my kid, the power of showing up. And then the guy who adopted me, I was in one of these international books. And then I was actually in a boys' home. What do they call it that? Like Annie. What do they call? Remember this movie, show Annie? Well, orphanage. So I was in this book and seeing people getting picked and people not getting picked, so on and so on. And what I take away from what he offered me was he not only talked about me, He not only talked to others about me, he actually came and got me. So again, the power of actually going and doing what you're going to do to be there for someone, even though you might not want to, even though you get frustrated, even though you're pushed away by other people. At the end of the day, go do your go handle your business.
Awesome. Man, Drell, how about you? What's your father biggest takeaway? What did your father teach you? The thing that sticks with you to this day? You could distinctly state.
Think for yourself. Don't let anyone else think for you. In other words, make your own decisions. You know, and when I grew up into adulthood, I kind of morphed it into my own thing. Like it evolved for me. It evolved like okay. And I was talking to this one guy who was younger than me, and he's really beating himself up about a decision he made, and he thought it was the wrong decision, and it was a mistake. You know, he blundered. I said, listen, man, don't feel bad about making the decision. Just, you know, fix what's just repair. Worry about how to repair what's been broken. I say, because listen, if you're not making mistakes, then you're not making decisions, and you can't be a leader without making decisions. And if you make decisions, you're going to make mistakes. Period. So you can't hold that against yourself too bad, you know. And when, let's say you're in a relationship, a marriage or a relationship, whatever, that person makes a mistake, you have to understand if that person keeps making decisions, eventually they're gonna make the wrong choice, you know. So you can't hold it against them like that. You can't keep holding that over their heads. You can't hold that against them. Otherwise, you're not gonna be in a relationship long. You know what I'm saying? So, or if you're married, that marriage is not gonna work out. It's gonna fail. So, thinking for yourself, making up your own mind, making your own decisions. That's, in other words, be your own man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
could you think of an example like where he put you in that position where where you had to think for yourself, or something that a story or an incident that may have happened that illustrates what you're talking about?
I guess, he used to say it randomly all the time.
Oh, just so it's a constant drumbeat in
you. Yeah. And there were situations like that would come up, and then he would remind me. He'd say, "Hey, think for yourself." Especially when I was in the Army, and I get on the satellite phone and I call him up and ask him about something. You know what I'm saying? And kind of tell him without telling. So he'll know what's going on, but I didn't say what was going on. Because when a satellite phone and everything's being monitored, think for yourself, son.
Awesome.
You know what I'm saying? He said, listen, if this is what you want to do, if that's what you want to do, do that. But do it because it's what you want to do. Not because somebody else. Don't let anybody else talk you into doing something you don't want to do.
Awesome.
So that's an instance right there. That's one instance. Like in the military, he became that's when he and I started becoming closer. And that's because as a kid growing up, it was kind of like we didn't have much to talk about.
Right.
He was a quiet guy anyway.
Right.
He was a really quiet guy, like in private. I didn't know he had all those credentials and qualifications and certifications and stuff he had until after he died.
Right.
I was going through his stuff, like all these credentials, degrees, and certificates. I didn't know he was in school. I didn't know I knew he went and got his bachelor's. I remember that, but the rest of it, I didn't even know he was in school.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's it, because he's working and stuff like that.
Well, it goes to the earlier point in Black David's video, talk about a lot of times we don't know, just as men, and part of it is because we may keep this in. We don't know what people don't know what our fathers did.
And
right, and the thing is,
and also what we've been doing.
And also the woman, like my mother, there's times she didn't know what he was doing.
Right.
She had no clue. You know what I'm saying? All of a sudden, I got to go to Birmingham and take this test. A test? What? I ain't seen you studying. That doesn't mean I haven't been doing it. You know what I'm saying? He's like, I study at work. When I have free time, I remember him saying that. I guess I said study at work. Or when I have free time here. You know what I mean? So, like you said, people don't know what you're really doing.
Right.
So that's why it's important to ask questions. I get on my sister about this. Like if she's dating somebody, I'll tell her, ask questions. What questions? As many as you can think of. Ask that dude as many questions as you can think of. I don't care what it's about. I don't care how personal it is. Ask why do you always say that? I said, because women don't ask questions. I said, you guys make decisions with no context.
Right.
None. You don't ask questions, so you don't really know. I said, if you ask him questions, there's a lot of things you'll already know about him because he'll tell you. And if he's telling you a lie, you'll tell.
Right. But he's not volunteering.
He's not volunteering. But men have been programmed to be that way. We're not programmed to we're not raised to tell people about ourselves. Right. We like to.
But Mandrell, I'm glad you just said that because earlier when Dr. Bennett asked about how men were able to express their feeling, when I said everybody listened to the lyrics, the first song, it was showing how men had to keep the thing to themselves. If they were to express it, will come out as if you were complaining or
a weakness or something like that. But the thing is, the guy's just trying to vent. And but I mean, like if you look at the show Wednesday that we did, the woman was, where the woman was saying, lie to me. Like you lied to your boss at the job. You know what I'm saying? So now I understand what she's saying. Don't come home and take your frustrations out on her. She's right about that. However, and the guy was telling her, I can't lie to you. If I love you, I can't lie to you. Treat me like you treat your boss in the job. I can't treat you like him. No, you know what I mean? Like he was giving her the answer. Like, no, if I have something on my chest to vent off, I'm supposed to be able to go to you, the wife, and vent my frustration. You're supposed to be the ear to listen to me. However, that's not the case. Women don't want to hear that. They don't want you to vent to them. Right. And that's the impression I get. That's the impression I get.
Let's stay fast. Like I said, I want to go around because I think this is a very powerful question that I would ask. I want to get everyone's perspective, and then we can kind of circle back down to and get more into it because that's the other side of this. Okay, again, the issue of how just as men, how we hold a lot of things in, we're not expressing ourselves, and people just don't know what it is that we're doing. That could be a subject in and of itself. But I want to go around and I want to get these perspectives. And again, for those who are joining us tonight on Black Men Unfiltered, again, this is Father's Day weekend. And so certainly in this segment here, we're talking about the impact of fathers and fatherhood. The first question that we're asking around is how our fathers impacted us. And so that's the question that's being asked to the panel. And then I have a couple more follow-up questions. And then we can, depending on our time, we can circle back. But Brother Driscoll, first of all, Brother JT, What We Know podcast is on with us tonight. Thank you for joining us. I definitely want an answer from you, brother, on this question that I'm asking. But the question on the floor is, okay, from your father, all right, or father figure. If you didn't grow up with the father, but whoever was that major male figure in your life, what was the biggest lesson that they gave you? What did they teach you that's still with you to this day that you, if you're a father today, that you still you try to impart to your children, or that you want to impart to your children when you decide to have them? So I want to go around. I just want to see how our fathers impacted us. So Brother Jisco, you were next. If you want to share from your background, your father or your father figures, what was the biggest impact that impression that they left on you?
Absolutely. My parents divorced when I was 3, but I still had my dad around on the weekends, and I looked forward to that weekend every weekend. Those were the highlights of my life. I love spending time with my dad. One thing I got to see from him that I'm thankful for is that there's never an excuse to be broke. He really, seeing his example of his ups, his downs, his multiple times of making something out of nothing, his multiple fearless leaps into new business endeavors. If he got an idea, he didn't think, he went with it. He found out what needed to be done and he did it. And even if it didn't always last, he made what he made. He got out onto the next idea, and that was very vital for me because now I see a lot of my peers feel deflated in the current economy, or even growing up and always felt like they needed to highlight what they can't do. And that was just never a reality for me. After seeing my dad, I'm like, nah, there's a lot we can do. You just got to think out the box sometimes. So I thank God for that. But with that said, also sometimes he got a little greedy with that, and it led him down some trouble eventually. And there was a point where he had to leave town when I was around 7, 8 years old, and that really impacted me. He eventually did end up going to prison for white collar crimes, and even seeing him get out of prison, he got back going and good again. But that vital time that he was gone from my life was the most impactful time of my entire childhood. It tremendously changed my trajectory, and the biggest thing I learned in that is how important my presence is as a father, and I vowed I can never do that to my kids.
Right.
Because it shaped my entire identity at that time.
Wow. Terrific. Thank you for sharing. Brother Jay, you want to go next?
Yep. I'll go next,
what
brother.
What is the biggest impact your father had, or father figure had on your life?
There's so many. That's so hard to actually answer. I was going based on my father. My father has had a great impact on me, particularly when it came to know the value of hard work, when it comes to laboring, perseverance, things of that nature. I was the first one to teach me that you don't deserve, pardon my French, you don't deserve shit unless you work for it, which is what I always believe, and I still believe that to this day. It was also also dawning on me that the fact that I have his example to look forward to, and even to this day, even though he's like 70, and I'm like, about to be 32 tomorrow, but
happy birthday!
I never want to let my father down. Like that's my whole thing, and I've always told him that. Like I never want to let you down. It's not even my mom, not even you, it's not even my grandma. I don't let you down because I'm your son, and I know I have to set the example of to be, try to be the better example of not with mistakes that you made to the same mistakes that I don't make, that I pass on to my kids, because like I said, because your legacy lives through me, and it'll live through my kids when they come into the fold. So he taught me a lot of different things about like being aware of your surroundings. That was another thing I had to he constantly let me know, like, son, be aware of your surroundings, where you're at, even situations you are in. Know when to execute what you need to execute in those situations, and don't let anybody steer you clear of my teachings of what I taught you, because when you start to adapt and get in those situations, you will know what to do. But yeah, he's had the most impact on my life, and I've had a couple uncles too, but mostly my father. Like I've just been around good men in general. So like men in the church, my uncle, and like I said, and they just helped cultivate me to be a better man in my younger years to where I am now.
All right, thank you for sharing. Black David, how about you? Now I know
I'm next. Okay.
Yes, you are next. I want to save JT for last. So again, now this can be it could be again positive. I know you've been very transparent in these panels in terms of your family
I know.
and the things that you've gone through and whatnot. But if there's things that you can extract from either from your father in terms of that, or like I said, the lesson could come from something that he didn't do that was a motivator for you to say, I'm going to do it this way from going forward. So in a way he taught you, he might not have been the model for you, but still, whatever it was, that was something that drove you to be the father that you are right now, being a father and a grandfather today. So if you could succinctly raise the point of in terms of impact.
I'll say the first thing he taught me, what he was showing me, was lack of consistency. It was because of that I'd make sure that I'm consistent with my kids. The lack of being there what taught me to be there for my kid to a level of don't be ashamed to answer any question they have in mind. The lack of, I'm trying to look for the right word, but I wasn't getting any type of level of wisdom or insight that I'm doing to my kids. So what he was doing while he was available, he was there but not there. I made sure I would be the complete opposite.
Right. Right.
But before that, I had uncle who were mentor who filled those spots, different time frames. It what made me to have an unshakable level of passion for my kids and my grandkids. I remember what I said, I'm a grandfather and a father. So, yeah.
That always amazes me that in these spaces, well, just in my life in general, some of the best fathers I know didn't necessarily come from their own fathers. It wasn't necessarily passed. If you had the benefit of having those values passed down, that's a blessing. But certainly to see these men who make decisions to say, I'm going to do things differently is
It wasn't, I'm telling you, it wasn't easy. I'm not going to lie to you because
right.
I remember going to elementary school and just like yesterday, just like my Wednesday show, Shisha was saying it, Auntie Cheetah was saying it. There were multiple plays I've been a part of. My mother and father never showed affected my father. I see my classmate who was a twin and his father was the coolest individual. I used to envy my classmate because his father was there consistently, but mine was not there.
Mm-hmm.
So I like as a boy, it made me to be hardened, not allowing the type of excuse ever happen again. Even when before the pandemic, I was trying to find time for my kids. I was trying to look for that. But when I have this job, what I have now, allow me to do that, I was like, finally, I could really spend time. Because as a boy, growing up to be a man, I believe heavily that young boy need father figures, not just any father figure. I'm going to make that super clear. I'm not making excuses for a lame ass man who want to be perfect. I'm talking about real fathers who not only consistent, who is not flip flopping. One day he say this, the next day he say that. I always ask my kid this: let me know if I'm not being consistent. Let me know if you feel like I'm misleading you. Let me know if you feel like I'm lying to you. I build a level of consistency not only to my kids and to my grandkids without a shadow of a doubt. They'll never say, "Oh, my dad misleading." No,
Yeah,
it was never going to happen.
Right.
My granddaughter know that very, very well. You know, I got 3 grandkids, about to be making 4, but that wouldn't happen at all.
Awesome. All right, brother JT, and again, thank you again for being here. And again, I'm sure I can speak for the brothers on the panel. We certainly wrap our arms around you. I know you just lost your father recently, and we're still praying for you. We're still thinking about you and the journey forward for you and your mom, and the new reality that's probably still sinking in. But if you want to share, so the question is, again, we're talking about fatherhood, and again, I wanted to steer this in a direction that helps to celebrate or amplify fatherhood or the need for fatherhood. So the first question that I'm asking to everyone on the panel is, what impact, the biggest impact that your father had on you? What lesson that he might have taught you that still resonates with you to this day, that walks with you, that you try to impart to your daughters? If you could succinctly narrow it down to a couple of things, and I'm sure there's multiple things, but life lessons that your father really imparted to you, with the biggest takeaways.
Sure. And I want to start by saying happy Father's Day to all the brothers on the panel also, man. Happy Father's Day weekend for y'all. Yeah, my father was a he was probably the biggest influencer in my life. Yeah, and my mom, last week would have been their 54th anniversary. But what I've learned overall, some of the biggest things I learned was, number one, say what you mean what you say. When it came down to children, you never let anybody influence your children as much as you influence them. When it come down to my wife, significant other, you have to be responsible for her. you're responsible for her. So you have to act like you're responsible for her. Just in life, one of the things, I know Driscoll, he had said, his father said kind of like the same thing. You gotta have you some money in this world. Money is a tool, and you need it. And there's always a way to make money. There's always a way to make money. And most of all, have fun while you're on this earth. Have fun. Enjoy it. Because it's short. Life is short.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Mr. Ben Adams, I don't know if
Okay, Doc.
no,
All right.
no. They throwing him, man. They throwing him. Love your wife. Make sure you love your girl, man. Woo! They throwing their panties.
Yeah, thanks everybody for
I wish some
sharing.
of you guys were here earlier in the show when I
Yep.
played that particular song, because
Yep.
that what brought the question that Dr. Bennett had.
I heard the song. When
Yep.
you guys played it earlier. I was listening to the show.
Yeah. But Mr. Ben, I had a quick question for you.
Sure.
I'm not sure what other part to that question you have. I do want to put a disclaimer out there because I don't want to be disingenuous to the network, to our listeners. I don't have a personal social profile out there. So I really don't answer questions about kids and marriage and all that. And part of it is not because of not because of the YouTube streets, but because if you guys remember who my primary population is, I work with sex offenders and people committed violent crimes.
Mhm.
In the state of Minnesota, your clients or patients have a right to your private information is law.
Mhm.
So if they ever want to sue you, so anything that's public, they use. And then I also am one of the ones who sign off if they get released or not.
Mhm.
And so there's a history of if you don't sign off on some people's stuff, you can get a visit at your door. Right. So for me, and there are a bunch of other states like that. So just for the listeners to know, I and you could, if you Google me and all that, you'll see all my professional stuff. But I don't have a personal profile, not because of these shows, but in general, because my patients and clients, if it doesn't go well, then I have to worry about other people in my family who that's impacting. So just wanted to put that out there so people understand my hesitation and then my future pause or hesitation to answer those type of questions.
I'll be right back, fellas. I'll be right back.
Yep. All right. Sounds good. Sounds good. And again, definitely feel free to, if you need to bow or to say I cannot answer, we totally understand that. Next question I have for the fellas, for those who have kids, what do you remember when you found out you were going to become a father? What was that like? Was it by, we hope that it was a planned event, but if it wasn't, what was that experience like when your wife or the woman you were with saying, I'm pregnant or whatever? So you're at, for the first time in your life, you're actually facing this idea of being a father.
I like to go first on that one.
What was that experience like for you? Go ahead, Black David.
I'm not gonna lie. When I found out I'm going to be a father, I never knew the high level of eagerness will overtake me. It's like I was. Here's the problem. I don't think anybody understands this. Imagine a nerd looking for being a dad. Imagine the number of stimulation went through his head. I'm going to raise my kid. I'm going to do this. I was really stressing myself. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to raise my kid. What I'm going to do. Where I'm going to take him. What I'm going to get him into. And not realize, instead of just enjoying the moment, I was over planning. I was overthinking it. To the moment when my first child, my son, was born, my sister took a picture of me when I was holding my son like this. I was putting blessing on my son. I was singing to him. I was in tears because to get to hold my son in my hand. I didn't pass out with my wife gave birth, unlike some dudes. So I heard a lot of dudes when they see their child get born, they couldn't be in the delivery room. Now I was you
were right there.
I don't know what you want to call that alpha man. I was a beastly match. I need to see how my son come out.
You in the catcher's position? You had the glove. You were ready.
I was there. Everything and then son. I was 10,000% alert. The moment my son came to my hand, I didn't even blink. I glued my eyeball on my son like this. Just looking at my son, seeing him moving, I started to get teary. Like, yes, this is mine. This is my boy. This is my pride. My sister go take a picture of me, put it on Facebook, have me all teary looking. I had the most ugliest, mean looking face ever. And man, Joe, don't say nothing. Man, Joe, do not say a word. Do not say a word, man, Joe. Do not even start right now. Put back the avatar. I don't want to see your face right now. So don't start right now. That's what you came for. Don't do that right now. So, like I was saying before I got interrupted by my light-skinned brother here. Anyway, I was in a mess. The doctor was looking at me, smiling a lot. My mom was laughing at me. My wife was looking at. I was not taking my eye off my son. I was like, "This was my pride." I was in tears for my son. For my daughter, I was laughing. I was happy. So it was kind of like I did not want to miss that moment.
That's why I'm asking you about your first.
The first one, I was a mess. Not the big ass dude who everybody say I look like a gorilla when I'm walking around. I'm so huge. I could care less. Man, Joe, do not say a word. Go back to the avatar.
You keep giving me these overdoses, though.
Man, Joe, put the avatar. I don't want to see your face right now. I don't
keep going through the tripwire, so
you keep going through the tripwire, man. Walking in the minefield.
I can wait for you when you become a father. I'm coming to roast your ass, okay? So just hush.
I was saying. CBN, not to take away from the magic moment, but a serious question to any of the fathers who saw their kids born. Did you look down there in the other spot and did you think, oh my gosh, I'm never...
No, I saw it. I didn't say, oh my God. All thing into my mind is like, would it put it be that way? Would it put it look that way? Is that how I came out too?
It didn't phase anyone else.
Trust me, it didn't. Testosterone was like, it didn't last very long.
Really? No, okay.
My mom said I had a big head when I was born. So I was like, did I do that to my mom too?
Right.
So me being a nerd, the simulator into my head too again. I was like, oh wow. Like, is that gonna hurt? Would you feel it afterward? That's the end of it? No more fun?
And did you see the placenta come out? Did you see the placenta come out also?
Yes, I saw everything. All my other peers who said they couldn't watch the birth of the kid, they were scared. They had to go outside. I said, no, I got to see everything. So my body was telling me, you better not pass out. You better not pass out. I'm talking about pass out for who? I ain't pass out for nobody. But
I think the whole pass out thing is extreme. I don't feel like that's a real thing. I don't know. I know some guys might. It ain't that deep.
Well, I don't know. When did it become a thing when guys started being in the room? Because it did used to be where the guys would be outside in the waiting room. But when did it? That must have been like in the 80s or something where guys, it was just all like my wife and we went to Lamar's class. It was like, you know, like all these things. We saw the videos. We saw all the stuff. But it was like expected by then that I was going to be in the room. So, but back in the day, I don't think that was expected. And, you know, my dad, I don't think he was in the room with any of us.
I'm telling you, so I heard some kid was scared to watch it.
Like, you got to be in there.
Some guy was afraid.
But he said like midwives and nurses. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You weren't in there. And you certainly weren't looking in that area. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, but now it's almost as like it's expected that, you know, you're just there. So I just took it this way. But Brother Driscoll, how about you? So again, you shared about your father and the things that he taught you and whatnot, but now you're going to be a dad for the first time. What was that like for you? And keep it real, because for some people, it's, you know, like I said, it's a joyous thing. For some of us, it may have scared the you know what out of us. It's like, oh my gosh, I don't know if anybody can truly be ready for it, but you know, give us the real. And like I said, you have 8, so you're You're like eighth master Dan at this time, but I'm talking about your first one.
Yeah.
And what was that? What was going through your mind? What was the emotion? What was going on with you?
Yeah, my first one, I mean, I had the natural anxieties of, preparation and what it means, and life's about to change, but I was surprisingly pretty excited, man. I always wanted to have a family, and I guess that goes without saying. You don't have 8 kids if you ain't want to have a family. But yeah, just coming from my background and not really having no siblings my age growing up, I looked forward to that day. So
okay, so
it was a relief.
That's another thing I should have preempted with. So again, or you look, what did you want? At the time, that's something you were looking forward to. Fatherhood was something you were looking forward to.
Definitely.
Awesome.
And I remember specifically when I was in the military, it was one point where it had came across that I might be picked to go to Afghanistan on an individual augmentee tour, and they was like, would you like to volunteer or da-da-da? And I'm like, I was gonna volunteer for the little extra money, but then I thought about it. If I die, I ain't got no kids yet. And that bothered me. The idea of me not getting to leave anybody behind. And so I was like, no, I'm not gonna volunteer, which I could have still got picked if nobody did, but thankfully somebody else wanted to go. So I know for me, even when I started having kids, even those type of fears were gone. I felt accomplished. Like, I can die today, and I know that I hurt everybody, but I don't feel the stress like I didn't get to leave nothing behind.
Great point. JT, what was that like? You gonna be a daddy?
Man, it was damn near. It was my first best Christmas ever. And I had some great Christmases growing up.
Oh, it was Christmas time? Oh, wow.
It was before Christmas. My daughter was born on the 2nd of December. So I was deployed. I was in Bosnia during this time when her mom was pregnant. So I only got a chance to see probably the first 3 months of her pregnancy. Everything else was pictures. But I was so excited, man. And it was funny because I visualized her. Like, she looked exactly like what I had a dream of.
Wow.
What I visualized. It was like, it was crazy. And I was in the delivery room right there. And her mom had, she had, what they call a cesarean?
Yeah.
C-section. I saw the whole thing. You know how they tell you you're supposed to be sitting down? But I kept standing up, and I needed to see. I mean, I saw the whole procedure when she came out. She had the little afro. It was crazy. And yeah, being a dad for the first time was just awesome, man. It and still is. Yeah. Imagine, my daughter is 27 years old now. And the second child that I had, it wasn't as joyful because I wasn't with her mom anymore. We were divorced.
Right.
But I tried to do. I was so excited. Like, it hurts sometimes just to see that I got grown daughters. And it's a joyful thing because they out here and they working. They doing what they supposed to do. They got out here. They know how to swim. They learning anyway. And it's still to revert back to just every time I see and I look in their eyes, it's still like, dang, where did the time go? Because it didn't matter. I played basketball a lot. I played softball a lot. I played sports a lot. I used to box and everything. So I had no problem with taking my children with me at all. I had a sports car, and when I had my first child, and I did not want to get rid of that. I didn't get rid of it. We ended up getting another car anyway, but she was right in that car. It didn't even look like a sports car no more. It didn't even feel like it in the inside anyway, because I had to put the baby seat in there. But it was cool. It was cool. Gotcha. So yeah, I loved it.
I feel you. I'll just quickly share mine. Now, everything with my wife and I was like very intentional. When we got married, because I got married, start to finish was 10 months. By the time I met, first went out with her, to the wedding and everything, it was 10 months start to finish. So we didn't have a very long courtship. So I already knew that I wanted to have children, but I knew I wanted some time. So I said, look, we're going to wait 3 years. We're going to be married, living together, learning how to cohabitate, all that stuff for 3 years. And when we decided to have children, we just started having children. It was just like, okay, all right, it's time now. All right, bet. Let's get it going. So certainly it was very much anticipated. And when I held my daughter in my hands, I think that's when it kind of like really hit me, like as far as like, you know, that's when I knew my life changed. Up to that point, it was like I was just working off of a calendar. It was just like a checklist. But it was at that time when it really fleshed out. And keep in mind, this is at the time again for you Gen Xers. We just started using like camcorders. I remember I had a Super 8 camcorder recording, you know, the session and whatnot. My wife's mom came in, her parents came in holding the baby and everything, and my wife is halfway passed out like this and whatnot. So just capturing those, and I still I still have those. I transferred them over to digital, but you know, but yeah, that was a real eye opener in terms of, you know, my life changing. But I think I did the best job I could to actually prepare for it, and making sure that, you know, I wanted to make sure that I had a good marriage first, or what I thought would be a good marriage first, before I was going to introduce kids into the world. And I still feel that way now. I think that, you know, I tell young guys now, if she can't be a good wife, then I don't know if she could be a good mother to your kids. So I said, you know, take as much time to make sure, because once you bring that child into this world, if she's not doing right by you, then, you know, I don't know if it's going to be worth it. So that's something I'll tell young cats today. You know, she has to qualify to be the mother to your wife before she can be the mom of your kids. So that was something that was just very important to me. But doctor, again, I'm not sure if this is a question that you can take on.
Oh, I'll answer this one. Black David.
Your first.
Yeah.
Your first one. You'll be a dad. And again, especially from your perspective, given your background and everything that you went through to come up to this point. Now it's like now it's your turn for that. So what was
well, the first one was actually adopted. So I actually had mixed emotions, like who do you get to say is your first? Like that was on my mind, like even before they popped out, like who do you say? Because I would never ever say adopted. I don't say step or adopted or anything like that.
Right.
So that was a struggle. Then the relationship with the mom. This just I was doing this type of work, but I mean, of course, I didn't have any degrees or anything. But I always thought about cultures, like our two family backgrounds, like what kind of kid are they going to be? Like that was a worry in my mind, like, man. And even though people say now, I don't know if I want to bring kids into the world, but back then it was a thought, like, ooh, all right. And it was Rodney King stuff, all that stuff was going on. It's like, ooh, do we bring kids into the world? Because the adopted kids, I felt like I was helping to rescue them. So, but now to bring and put someone into that mess. And then the birth, poor thing, she pooped herself, the mom, while she was pushing and stuff. And I had the camera too. And she's like, don't get me on the camera. And I don't know why don't meant do more. I was like, get it all. And it was like, and then she tried every position, and the doctor's had her sitting and sideways and standing and a leg up in the chair. And I was like, come on, keep pushing out. And so she finally did. And then the head was soft, and it came out. There was a movie back then called The Cone Heads. So this kid had like I'm serious. And they went in there with some salad spoons. I was like, oh. So I wasn't like sick from like pass out, but it was this experience. And then the placenta, that's why I was asking you, CBN, like that ball came out behind it. And that spooked me, man. I was like, what the? Oh, it was like an alien was coming out. But the part I want to land on is this. It changes. I don't know for you guys, but I hear it sounds like it did. but it changed the trajectory of my life. So just kind of thinking who I am, what this kid is going to present after adopting someone, then it's like it changes the trajectory. So it was highly significant for me to actually have that experience. And then I have one challenge to the women, based on what we heard, based on what I say, and based on what we heard. Here's the grand question. They tell us we never know what it's like to have a baby. Physically, we don't. But when you compare the significance of a baby to a father and the significance to a baby for a mother, I don't know. I heard you guys talk about like wow, right? And that mom who's delivering for the first time is going, wow. To me, that sounds pretty equal, even though we don't feel it grow in our belly. Actually, the new mothers, the new guys can feel it grow in their belly, but previous, I'm talking about before the new men and the new women. No, I'm sorry, that's a different story. That's a different story. But the original woman, we don't feel it grow, but past that part of birth, I just want to say, I think hopefully, ladies here, that it is as significant for men as it is for women, at least in my opinion.
Can I ask a quick question, Mr. Bennett? Without
sure thing, absolutely.
Do you think, doctor, that last part of what you said, as far as the significance being equal, can be impacted by how good or bad the relationship is between the parents?
Oh, whew. Well, I think even if even if you're not with the mom, just knowing you have a kid, like wow, the mom doesn't share in that like seeing you and hearing it. So it's easier, I think, for a mother who's staying with the kid. I think it's easier for a woman to think that the guy doesn't care, but it is on his mind. And then, yeah, if you're in a quality or a healthy quality relationship, I think they do share and like, wow, look what we did and look what. So I think it's a difference if they're together, the quality of them being together versus if they're not.
Awesome.
That's dope.
Awesome. All right. Well, I don't want to leave Jay and Mandrell out of the loop here. I know you guys aren't fathers yet, and I think both of you guys are certainly very ambitious, and I think you sort of have a lot to offer in that. But how do you foresee, like in your mind, thinking about fatherhood and what that's gonna be like? What are your thoughts on that? On having children? Have you decided how many children maybe you like to like to have, or what's your expectation? From all of us here who've gone through it. Sharing our perspectives, but what's your expectation when it comes to when it comes to that? You're on a timetable when you're trying to make some things happen. If you care to share on that.
Okay. Well, I love that's a fully loaded question, Brother Bennett, and I can answer all of that. I'm glad how you set it up. I can each one in order. So, one, I'll say this: it is going to be one of the scariest yet exciting things that ever happened to me, because once that baby's out in the world, I'm be like, he's here. All right. Because I think while I'm waiting, I'm be like, yo, all right, it's go time. He's here in the world, or she's here in the world. It's time to do business, like you've been like you plan to. This is what you wanted. Commit 100%. Never settle for less. That's gonna be my mindset going in once I see that baby in my wife's arms. Simple enough.
Right.
But expectations of me is be the man you're supposed to be. Do what you gotta take care of. Don't let that child down. Of course, your wife as well. But we're talking about don't let that kid down. Be there for that kid every step of his or her first walk, and be there to guide them. Because, like I said, you have your previous father example to lean on, and also you're your own man. This is your journey into parenthood. So I have to treat it with the most seriousness and respect that it deserves right now. Because this isn't a game. That's the first thing in my brain. Like, this is not a game. I'm gonna take care of this kid. Me and my lady. Simple enough.
Gotcha.
Also,
now, do you have a projected? Do you have a number in mind? 2, 3, 8. Just you want to give some pointers on how to do 8. So I'm just
no, I won't do that, bro. Listen, if I get lucky and have twins, that's it. I would love if I could just hit the man. Give me the jackpot. Give me twins. I'm like, there's my 2
kids.
2 for 1. No more. 2 for 1 out of,
Yeah,
out
Jay-
of 1 person, I'd be happy.
Jay, did you say you planned for your kid? Did you plan for the kid?
Oh no! I would say no. When I do have kids, it is something that I've talked about a lot, even with other men on
got it.
panels. I said it's going to be
Yeah.
planned for, because I told because my significant other mother, no, listen, we having kids and stuff, we ain't going in no debt, sweetheart. This is stuff that's going to be knocked out before these kids come into play. That's for damn
Right.
sure. That's the one thing
Yeah.
I'm gonna do for make sure that when kids come in, no debt, and I've already got money saved up for college funds for the 2 of them. And then we good to go. Because like I said, I don't want to do is like, we got a bunch of, like, I've always said this, make sure you're financially stable to take care of kids. I know some people didn't have, most cats on the street didn't have the talk that necessary to say like, yo, bro, listen, you should have kids with a girl until you financially stable, bro. The both of you, really you. Because if you're good, you can take care of those kids along with her, specifically if you're trying to be a man.
Yeah.
Me, I'm trying to take care of her and the kids. Those are my 2 priorities. That's all. That's all I need. That's all that needs to be taken care of. So yeah,
Okay.
I will plan for it. And also, it's going to be 2 talks before we. One before I think once when she's my fiance, and the one we're fully married. When we talk about, I'm like, okay, sweetheart, everything's taken
When
care
do
of.
we do this? Yeah.
We
Cool.
can do this.
All right. So the reason I asked,
we doing good on time, brother David, you still with us? Like David.
Black David.
Yeah. Oh man, Driscoll. The reason I was asking is because part of that question, part of my answer to your question, there are a lot of men who they had a baby, but it was only meant to have good sex. And so for the woman, I think if regardless if we only had good sex or if we planned it, either way, it's I have a baby. I think for the men, sometimes they do make it separate where I was only fucking or I was only having sex and we got pregnant. So the value for the baby is not the same at all times as with the mom, because the second she boom, same like that. I hope that makes sense.
No, it does. Thank you. I agree wholeheartedly.
It does.
Yeah,
all right,
absolutely. Like David, this is Jesus talking to you.
Don't wake him up. Don't wake him up. Let him stay right there. Just like that.
He just set himself up so much.
Oh my gosh. We're gonna have endless material going forward.
Why doesn't he calm down? I don't get it.
That Driscoll there. Yeah.
He wants you to see the Black Panther.
With the shades on, look at that, and then the sleeveless shirt.
And it's about the man. It's
and a Planet Fatness shirt on it. That I don't understand.
Planet Fatness.
Wow, like. People do it though. People do this all the time. Duh.
Yeah, the long game.
People do this all the time.
He got his gun range glasses on.
Don't it? He confused. Black Panther background.
Yeah. Mandrell, were you gonna answer about the fathering thing?
Yeah, Mandrell. So
I think Bennett had one more round, right?
Mandrell, so I know obviously you don't have kids yet, but again, if you is that something you're still hopeful for? Hopeful you would like to have kids. If so, how many? I mean, what? So how do you? What's your goal, or what's your dream?
At this point, I'll be happy with one. To be honest,
male.
You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter. I don't care.
Really?
Yeah, I don't care.
You don't think the dynamic?
If you just want a kid.
I'm 44 years old, dude. I'm 44. I just want one.
No, but I get that.
I'm not choosing,
and that's something. Now, look, I never had the privilege of having a son, and I can't say what that would look like. My job could be either a lot harder or a lot tougher. I mean, trying to raise boys in the world that we in and whatnot, that could be a challenge. But you don't have imagine if you had a young man, another Mandrell Jr. to mold into that 21st century man. Would you look forward to that, or would you rather have a daughter and teaching her how to be a lady and all those things that go with it? I mean, I get you'll take what you can get. I totally get that. But if you could, would you rather have a son or a daughter?
I used to think that way. I don't think I've ever actually cared though. That's the thing. I don't think I've ever actually cared or had a preference one way or the other. You know what I mean?
Really?
Honestly,
Would you suit up differently if you had a daughter? Would you suit up differently? Like,
well, here's the thing. I'm gonna be Papa Bear regardless of the gender.
Either way, okay.
You know, yeah. Like I told you, I'm gonna be a Kodiak Grizzly. Mess with her. You know what I'm saying? I mean, but regardless of the gender. So I mean, I can't imagine another me walking around. I don't think the world could take that. So,
all right, so let me ask Doctor and Driscoll, since you have both daughters and sons. So, what did the experience of raising one over the other? What are you discovering? What are you learning, having daughters versus having sons, and the thought process behind how you raise them? Because we talk about raising them up. Mandrell says it doesn't matter, but at some point, it's going to matter. Like at some point, you talk about that male. You're going to be that male bear, but if you're going to have a son, you might have to get that male bear to go out on some hunting expeditions with you. I don't know.
Yeah, of course, I'm going to do some things differently, Mr.
Right.
Bennett. Like I'm going
to so Dr. Nakumbe's and from Driscoll's. What are you seeing so far between having sons and daughters? Like the main thing that you're learning, the differences between them, and your approach as a father to rearing them.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference was after the loss of the mother. Because I always believe I can't teach a daughter to be a woman. I can teach my son, and then being together, we're teaching them both values and stuff. After the loss of the mother and the daughter being only 8, and it's like, okay. And then some of it was kind of fun, like, you ever heard of Kotex.com? Yeah, go watch.
Yeah.
You know, like go. So some of that was like, I remember the first time holding, and I wasn't trying to be funny. I was much larger. I used to be 350, and I knew I was big because these things flopped over. But I remember being at the store and holding the bra up, but it wasn't because I'm always being silly. But this was serious. Like, well, what do you think of this one? And she freaked out. And that scared me. Like, she's like, oh, what's that supposed to be? I mean, and then I remember times of thinking, I'm not gonna make it. And part of that, I think I attributed to like the loss of the mom. Like, I need you. I can't do this. But my boy, I didn't have that thought at all about I can't do it regardless of the mom or not. Like, so I just had the difference. Like, I don't know how to develop a woman. So that changed once we no longer had the mom. Other than that,
no, don't like that. We saw you. Why didn't you calm down, Black David? Why didn't you calm down? I'm sorry, Doc.
Oh yeah.
You want something like that?
At the timing of that, I was like, and we lost the mom. I was like, oh. I didn't think that.
No, it wasn't that.
It wasn't
funny. No,
right.
Not laughing at what you said.
Right. So anyway, that was the answer to my question. That it didn't really. I thought, two parents raising daughter, son. I thought when she gets older, all the game. I considered myself playing. I have to watch out for the guys when they start doing it when she gets older. And before we even got to that stage, it just all switched once the mom was gone.
Gotcha. Driscoll, what would you say to that?
Man, everything is different, from communication to discipline to the way they want to play with me. It's insane. Like there's no way to really maintain equality between the two. Because my daughters, is like, if they get in trouble, I just say, why did you do that? And they're immediately crying. Just the fact that daddy is approaching me about something I did something wrong. So it's difficult to balance that, because I don't want to break my girls, or I don't want to be aggressive with them and make them feel like, I don't know. It's tough. But even in the sense of how sweet they are to me, and they just want to be up under daddy. And then the boys will just come and punch me in the stomach, and they want to challenge, and they want to be able to wrestle and take down daddy. And both are important. I love both aspects. But I definitely do believe I unfairly cater to my daughters because they just so sweet.
See, Trader.
Yeah. But with that said, my sons, especially my first son, like that feeling I said that I had, like I can die now. I felt that from my boy. My daughter was
Yeah.
born first. You know, the boys, I feel a different.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. My boys, I feel a different level of responsibility to, and I think that's why I'm tougher on them.
Gotcha.
Well, yeah. The thing is, you have to hold boys with a more of a firm hand than girls, because boys, we can be wild. Like I remember when I was a kid. I mean, you couldn't stop me from jumping off shit. Like I would jump. Like seriously, when I was like 4 years old, I would get like the plastic bags you get from the grocery store.
Yeah.
I would take those and put my arms through the little handles.
You trying to make a parachute?
And climb up on the bed and try to jump off like a parachute. I used to do that. And then I would climb trees and the same thing with the plastic bag. And look, I'd have killed myself. I used to do it off the roof too. I used to climb up off a tree and get up on the roof of the house somehow and do it off the roof. I would have killed myself had my parents not. Hey, boy, start if you don't. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. See, that's
you have to watch boys, man. They'll
a funny video out there. It was a father who was he was play wrestling with his son and picking him up, power bombing him on the couch, and then the daughter's like, "Ooh, daddy, I want to do it with me," and he picks her up and he gently places her down.
Right.
That was such a perfect picture. The wife sent it to me and was like, "That's you all the way."
Wow.
That's right.
You know, it's funny. It's funny you said that because my daughter would see me play with her brothers like that and be like, "No, you don't." Like, we'll get mad if we were gentle with her. She wanted to, like, I thought maybe because she was a tomboy, but she was very much into this treat. Don't go softer on me, like. So it was weird.
Right.
I think
so for me,
too young right now. They don't know. They don't know that I'm doing that. They think
right.
Yeah. And to answer Mr. Bennett's question, he asked me earlier. Like, here's the thing. Like, there are certain things I'm gonna do with my kid, right? Regardless of gender.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna teach my kid how to hunt, how to field dress animals and cook and clean them. Survive off the land in case. I don't know, the power grid goes down, and that's all you got. How to make clean water out of lake water, stuff like that.
I call it Africa, Mandrell.
No, my kid's never going to Africa. So, also, glad to see you woke up, Black David. You gave us more ammo tonight. But anyway,
I know. I don't. I'm going to insomnia. I have
to finish, like marksmanship. I'm gonna take him to the range, teach him how to shoot a gun, teach him safety precautions, how to use a weapon. You know what I mean? Brazilian jiu-jitsu, MMA. You have to learn how to defend yourself. Now, if it's a girl, she's gonna do all that stuff too. But
you're gonna be raising a Dora Milaje warrior, man.
Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, plus scholastic. Obviously, she has to excel scholastically. But when it comes to teaching her how to be a woman, I'm going to need a woman for that. I don't know what to do. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what to do with that. I mean,
that's an interesting question because I know in these spaces we've talked to ad nauseum about women raising sons. That's just been a dominant thought. And it's funny, especially on Father's Day, it was going to be a question. I'm not going to dwell on too much. We always talk about how do you guys feel about when women say or mothers say, look, I've been a father to my, I've been a father to my son, or I've been a father to my kids when they're not fathers. Like, that's just not a role that they can fill.
It's not.
But then, you certainly have, in, like I said, Dr. Nakumbe's case, where fathers have to raise women or daughters. And we never talk about what that looks like for the daughter when she becomes an adult or a teenager, whatever. Do they have the difficulties that we see it what's happening with the men, but what impact is that having on women? I don't know, doctor, maybe from your practice, if you have anything to share on that, women that are not raised with their moms. But again, your father, good father, did everything he possibly could to bring you to adulthood and everything. But is there something that you see in those women that's different from those where a mom was in her life?
Yep. Sometimes I have to be careful of being a hypocrite because I'll tell a mother, well, you can't teach your son to be a man, but yet when I'm motivating her and thanking her, like when I'm doing the opposite, a single parent, and I'm pumping her up about, man, good job, I'm glad you're taking care of him, you're being the mom and the dad. There's a fine line between being a hypocrite and that difference is there are certain qualities that it doesn't matter what the parent's gender is, mom or dad, you should be able to instill certain values, family practices, family traditions, certain things that aren't role specific or gender specific. How to be, how to get along with other people, certain things, and then moms can help put in place. It's almost like if I don't know how to do plumbing, but I know how to hire someone, the job will get done. It may not be me doing it, but the job will get done. I think the difference is when women are not enrolling others, like they're not even searching for a mentor, a counselor, a coach, or whatever. They're just doing it all in themselves and then combining that friendship. So even with my daughter, there's a fine line between are you daddy's girl, or have I made her my sister? So for those who know my story, being adopted and separated from my sisters, so am I taking care of her like was I her big brother? Was she of course she's daughter? And then even though the people I adopted is different than the loss of her mother, so sickle cell, but that loss still, there was a fine line between, am I treating her like an adopted? Now what here, listen to the fine line of double talk. I don't call stepkids or adopted kids half, or I just say kids. But there were times when it's like, damn, it's like I'm treating her like an adopted, like I adopted her from her mom. That makes no sense. But I remember sometimes telling it to my friends, like, damn, I feel like I adopted her, like because her mom is gone. So sister, adopted daughter, and then birth daughter. But it was highly significant. So when I talk about moms and dads playing the different roles in my practice, I have to be careful of denying them denying them their props. You even have people here in the channel who are on the in the chat who are single parents, and they are holding it down. But I would say just please know the difference between certain qualities or role specific things that you would want to see about how can you get that taken care of, and then be careful of what the kids see. So a male who puts on his socks but crosses his legs like he's putting on pantyhose because he's learned that behavior from his mom, or when he's doing his nails, the difference between this and this, and some people say that doesn't matter, but what type of mannerisms are we passing on? And same thing with my daughter. Am I teaching her that when we're burping with the guys and we're like, your turn, she's like, that sounds fun, but really did I pass on some mannerisms and not have her be part of a female's life so she can learn like that's not so much ladylike.
That's right on what you just said there. That's the big point I think that gets missed in what I was saying about why I'm not equal in the way I raise my son and daughter. Because there's two different goals that I'm trying to bring out of there.
Right. Right. Now it's interesting because I know T Wriggles B in the chat. He had they made mention that Information Man has some stats on father parenting, and it seems like these fathers are doing a pretty good job overall with raising children, and I'm assuming regardless of the sex. But could it be something to the fact that, I mean, one of the things that, we talk about the manosphere or the black manosphere, and one of the things that you constantly heard that, women don't understand men, or how to cater to a man or what have you. But could it be the fact that if the father is raising the daughter, that she's being kind of taught on the fly what a man is supposed to be like? So when she goes and chooses a man, that she's going to be in a better position to see what that looks like. So could that be a reason why fathers raising daughters is still have better outcomes? I guess is what the stats are driving.
I would say it due to a level of consistency. That is something my uncle have taught me, because when I hear about these fathers, I don't hear consistency, because when you consistent, whereby you made sure you're on top of everything, pay attention to more detail. I treated my kid like a science project. I'm not gonna lie, I did that. Which means I was studying my son's demeanor, his behavior, his pattern since he was a baby. So I understand what he does and what he don't do. I do the same thing with my daughter as well. So I do that all the way to the point my son now is 13, my daughter will be 11. So I study their pattern down to the T. So I know how they think, how they act, how they respond. What would they take serious? What would they not go take serious? I know my son was good in math, but not good in English. I know my daughter good in English, not good in math. I know that's my son's strong point, but it's his weak point. I know my daughter's strong point, but it's her weak point. And I knew that in advance. When I shared it with my wife, it went to one ear, come out the other. I kept quiet. The teacher brought up to their attention, your son is weak in the... Okay, I already told my wife about it.
What's the drum points?
I told her on the bus. Okay, I just said, because to me, my uncle told me, pay close attention to every small detail of your child so you can understand how to deal with them.
Would you say that impacts the way your daughter's going to seek her husband in the future? Do you think the way you raised her will impact the way she approaches men?
But it get to the point, it would be, because then why? My daughter sometimes tell me that I'm the coolest father. Why you say that? I said, don't just even know cookie cutter explanation. I want you to be in detail. And she break it down in detail. My son do the same exact thing. Because I asked them, have I been consistent? They say yes.
Mm-hmm.
Have I tried to lie to you? They say no.
Mm-hmm.
Have I be honest with you? They say yes. That make it hard for you to come to me and talk to me about anything. They say no.
Okay.
I did that to the point whereby their friend come and see what I do. Mm-hmm. My son and daughter bring their friend over here plenty of time. And they be asking me questions left and right whenever they get a chance. But what I do is always be consistent.
Well, you have to be awake for that. But listen, so do you no. What I mean is,
I get it. I can take the joke. I was going to insomnia. That's why my body
one more serious question, and I don't know if Mr. Bennett was going to go there. Because you have studied your kids and made them a science project, like taught them cold water is hot and stuff like that. Because you have studied them, are you putting them in environments to kind of help them get what you want? And I don't mean like for your selfish needs, but
I try to avoid that. And let me tell you why I try to avoid that. My parents did that to me. Mm-hmm. They want me to be in an environment where they want me to be.
Right.
Why? Right. My mother was like, oh, either you be a doctor, a lawyer, or a banker. That was the thing.
A banker. That was the title they gave you?
That was the choice they gave me.
Yeah, but what do they want you to do at the bank?
Here's the problem. When you have African parents who are old school and they're strict, they want to enforce their views.
No, I get that, but what I'm asking is, like, what specifically did they... You can't just be a banker. You have to be like an accountant or...
You mean like finances?
Yeah, you be in finances. Yeah, I was asking what specifically...
That was the term. Now that's what they say.
Oh, okay, that's just what they call it. Because you're right. You just said they were old school.
Career path.
Yeah, gotcha. I was just curious, is like, because I've heard people refer to things in general like that, and I was like, and most of the time they do mean something specific that they want you to do. So I was like, okay, I figured maybe I had to talk and you found out what specifically they want you to do at the bank.
I would fight against programming since 9 years old. They would have repeated me over and over. I didn't want to hear it, because what if I have a choice? What if I want to do this or that? I was playing the drums. Oh, you don't make money playing drums. Okay, I want to get into sport. Oh, you're not going. When I saw that happen to me, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. At a very young age, I have a high level of self-awareness of what was going on. So the amount of programming my parents trying to put on me, I played the game. I played the game with them. With me, I was 10 steps ahead of them and pretend like I was dumb on purpose.
Right. Well, not so much tonight. You were asleep for a little bit, but listen.
Before we move on, I want to get JT's perspective.
Yes.
Down from time to time. I don't know why.
I'm messing
But I want to
weigh in on the two after JT if I can.
Yeah, I want to get JT's perspective on this in terms of having daughters. If you had to be, and there might have been a time that you were a single parent raising daughters, if you had to do that on your own, like would you think there'd be something that would have been missing? from that equation, or something that your daughters would have lacked if it was just you? Is there, what do you think is, how women come out in that scenario? And I also want to address something that Black David said when he talked about the task thing. I want to get to that, and then I'll get to Driscoll. But I like your perspective on that, JT.
Okay, so one of the things I had to deal with when it did come down, because by the time my oldest child was 6 and my youngest child was 1, we were separated.
Mhm.
So now we're parenting, separately. Big impact on my oldest daughter because she's seen me and her mom together. My youngest, she's never seen it, so it impacts her, but it's not like it does my oldest. So one of the things with my oldest child was when I used to go get her, and her hair was done based off of how her mom does her hair every day. So it was probably put in pigtails, but it was kind of like her mom did it every day. I know nothing about that, right? So what I ended up doing was being an improviser. I took her to people that were hairdressers. I got family members. I have, sometimes I paid for it. It all depends, but I improvised. It's the same thing when it came down to being a teenager. I had to literally have that conversation with her about periods and all these different things. It was easy with my second one because it was, doing it the second time, third time, fourth time, it gets a little bit easier. But with my first one, I just improvised, right? What I seen was the difference between me and her mom was that I taught her boundaries. So when she was with me, she understood boundaries. When she was with her mom, she can step over the line, going, in the room, take her mom's stuff. They share things. I never looked at her as my friend. Her mom looked at her, was trying to be a friend. We see it now because they're grown. They even say it. It's certain things they just would not say to me like they would say to their mom. That's just what it is. They've tried me, but they understand that this is dad. He's gonna respond a different way because I've never reacted to my children. I wanted to, but ever since they've been on this earth, it made me get to the point where it made me kind of like innovate myself as a father. Even when I was going through because I went through, a lot of people heard my story when it came down to my divorce and stuff. And it was a lot of things, but I still had to maintain balance when it came down to them. It's funny that I'm glad that I did because there's a lot of things I wanted to do, I wanted to act on, but I didn't do it because we're all getting older, now things are starting to come together a lot better. I have a grandson now. And what my daughter is saying to me, I just want him to be around you. I want him to see you. I want him to recognize this is my oldest one. Youngest one ain't got there yet.
Right.
And my oldest child, one of the things that she do appreciate from the time that, we were together, and this is what she just recently told me, was the fact that I was still kind, gentle, because I refer to my daughters as baby. Both of them. Hey, baby. I've never had another name for them other than that. Now, if I call them their name, they already know they in trouble. So even if it came down to I just had to solely do it, I think that it'll be challenging, but it wouldn't be impossible. It's just you do it as you go. Being a parent is just, that's what it taught me. You just do, you got to take care of them. There's no excuses when it comes down to taking care of your kids. So, we hear people, talk on these panels when it's like being a man, there's no excuses. Nobody really cares about you, all these different things. We already understand that. As men, we already understand that. And when you have children, you really understand it now because they ain't trying to hear that we ain't got it. They're not trying to hear that we don't have a place to stay. They're not trying to hear any of that. So one of the things, and it goes back to what you asked earlier, Mr. Bennett. One of the principles that my father taught me that is just stuck with me. You're responsible for your family, homie. Ain't nobody gonna look at you and say, "Oh, I'm sorry that y'all going through this." They're gonna be looking at you and saying you're failing as a man, as a husband, as a father. That's what they're gonna be saying. They could be wrong, but this is how the world look at us. And guess what we end up doing? Just being men. Being men, being responsible for our family. I'm not gonna, as a young man, going through what I went through, had to go through the child support and all that stuff. Man, it just got to the point where when I look back at it, I'm like, I did what I was supposed to do. I did what I was supposed to do, no matter what it was. That's just what it is right now.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to being a grandfather.
Right. And it seems for me, what I'm hearing is it's tying in both the mindset and also how men generally go about tasks. So you talk about, it's like you're starting out with this idea. It's like, I gotta do what I gotta do. But then men being task oriented, like I said, David talked about it being a science project. It's like, so men, we have this capacity. It doesn't matter what it is. Men can be the best. We talk about cooking and all that. Men can be the best chefs. They can be the best designers. They can be all the things that, traditionally people associate with feminine tasks. Men are very capable of doing because of how we approach it. It may not have the je ne sais quoi, so to speak, the that touch, if you will, that a woman may bring to it. But a lot of times when we think about, okay, what do what is needed in this situation? What do our kids need in this situation? Okay, they need to be fed, clothes, housed, etc. They need an activity. They need help with homework. They need their hair done. We figure out, like I said, we may not have to. And some guys I know learn a skill. Like if I was forced to have to braid hair, I would just take it as a task that I needed to do. No more than like back in the day when you had to make, weapons and things out of, materials and weave things together and all that kind of stuff or whatever. So that could be an aspect as to why men, even single men who are single parents, could still do well, at least to an extent, because the way they approach it is something that's, it's like a checklist. It may not have the love. It's like cooking. You can follow the recipe to a T, but if you don't put that love into it,
passion,
yeah, that could be the missing sauce, the secret sauce, so to speak, that perhaps women may bring to a situation that sometimes men don't. But Driscoll, you had a point that you wanted to raise, and then we can start going into final thoughts. I had one question to close out as final thoughts, so I'll raise that. But you can go ahead, Driscoll.
Yeah, y'all made some good points because men are typically seen as the disciplinarian, and more typically able to bring that consistency, because women, when it comes to that, can often be swayed emotionally and not be inclined to stick to bringing the structure needed to a child, because they like, even sometimes with me disciplining my kids, there's certain times where the wife won't even like to witness the kids sad. She'll have to walk away because she like, I don't want to intervene or come between what I know needs to be done. But at the same time, if it was her, it wouldn't be done. So I understand the statistics in that regard, that single fathers are more likely to do a better job than single mothers, just on that regard alone. But what I also want to add is, if I'm not mistaken, I think those statistics are more about the fact that a child raised in a single mother home is more likely to be in prison, more likely to be unsuccessful financially, all of those types of things. But I don't think it takes in the fact of marriage. And so that's my question. Is a single father able to raise a wife better than a single mother? I don't know, but that's not included. And if we're talking on that topic, I couldn't imagine trying to do that without my wife's example. I don't think I would do a good job, because that is the missing piece, that they get to see the dynamic of both. They get to see how she is to me, how I am to her. And while I can discipline and train and show them the best example of a man, the things that she's teaching them. Just my 6-year-old daughter learning the value of serving daddy, where she'll just say, hey, take daddy his plate. And I say, oh, thank you, baby. I appreciate you. And she's smiling out of her, glowing from the fact that, oh, I just did something for the man that takes care of us. That's a value that wouldn't be taught if my wife wasn't there.
Absolutely.
And so we're very intentional about teaching our daughters the value of being wise, because one thing I see a lot of fathers do nowadays, especially single fathers, they're training their daughters to be independent and not need a man. And a lot of times it's out of even almost a scarcity mindset of, I want to protect you and not see you hurt. They mean well, but oftentimes it actually is not beneficial, and it's creating the opposite of the result that we probably would like to see too often. And that's what concerns me in this conversation. I don't know where that balance would be.
Could it be because most of these single dads don't have a community where we have women who can help out on that aspect of it? I'm mentioning that because I listened to you guys for the past couple of years, and I hear these things. I always ask this question: who are the gatekeeper of your community? Because when you have these single dads in our cultures, the dad is single, either based on mom, pastor, whatever. There's aunties in the community who want to help the dad in case they got daughters, to show their daughter how to be a woman. Looking into today's society, I hate to say this, we have women teaching these young girls how to be 3 or 4, how to be streetwalkers, how to be out of place, out of order, and no one willing to say, no, that's not how we're supposed to be.
A lot of our aunties ain't wives either, though, bro. That's the unfortunate.
Well, see, that's the thing. So Driscoll, to your question, you're saying, and I understand in your particular situation, the wife that you have, and that's exactly what she's doing. But you can't necessarily take for granted that even if you have a wife, is she going to be taking that job on? We say that all the time. We can't assume that a woman is going to raise her daughter to be a wife or feminine or whatever, if she's raising her daughter to be independent and all those things. So again, to that end, we can't even say that it's
to be clear, I don't think a single mother would do it adequately either. That's not what I was saying.
I think that both. I think the answer is that it takes both.
Yeah, that's what I was.
And it's more about what they're doing in front of their children than what they're saying to their children. So it's the example that they show. Just like you were saying, man, would you just, like, when your daughter be able to do something for you and she can see how appreciative you, man, that goes a long way. My mother always tell me, like, I've been going through some things with my daughters. Again, I got grown daughters. And my mother told me, she said, don't worry about it. Your daughters are always going to love you. All it takes, because you can knock all that stuff out of there, all it takes is for them to see you. Because both my daughter, one is in Louisiana in school, the other one, she just stayed. She went to Tennessee State, and she just stayed there. And when they seen me, all that other shit went out the door. Whatever it was that they had. So my mother, it took my mother to actually get me to see the insight of a woman. You know what I'm saying? It took her, because she was like, and she wasn't talking, she was talking to me as her mom, as my mother, but she was in the prospect of a daughter, being a daughter. This is what me and your granddad had to go through. And then I had to get my act together, because my father has always been, he's always been a father to me, right? And when she said that, like, we just buried my father. And one of the things that impacted my mother, and it was something crazy, where she said, I have to call my father and let him know that the man he gave me to just died. It was hard for her to tell her father that my father had died, because she took those vows very serious. She took the whole thing very serious, and the impact that her father has on him. My grandfather, 96, 97 years old, and she's like, I don't know what I'm gonna do if my father died. So when she tells me about my daughters, I'm like, damn. You can't tell me that that's not God. You can't tell me that. How do you explain these type of things to happen? My mother, actually, I see my mother as a daughter. See my mother as a daughter, even when she's around her father. So when I see my daughters and they act so much like her, just like they act so much like a lot of other family members. But when I see my daughters, I also see my mother as a young person also. So it takes both. It takes that man and that woman to show examples. All that talking and talking points ain't gonna do nothing for your kids.
JT, I'm glad you shared that, but you know that was a village that your family have.
Yeah.
That I'm trying to point out, because it take both. You're correct, but it take more than just both. It take many other factors where beside you and your wife, you have your grandmother as a role model, as an example, because those integral points are needed. The problem with today, we don't have a lot of those. If my kid were to see your grandfather, your grandmother, I would tell my kid, watch and study their behavior, watch and study their demeanor. My kid would tell you this every day. It's a learning moment. I make sure to learn a lot of things. I want to be aware of their surroundings.
Now, Black David, I gotta say this. This was a God moment for me too, to have my grandfather and my grandson in the same space. To have my grandfather and my grandson in the same space. That's a feeling, man. Like family is just,
that make you look at things different.
Oof.
Yeah, it does.
It does that, because it is. I don't you know what I mean. It's not like I'm throwing people on the bus. My wife's mom is still here. She's still alive. My wife's father is still alive. So my kids are blessed to have their grandfather still alive to this day. My kids have traveled to Trinidad to see my wife's side of the family, and I'm happy about that. I'll be ashamed to introduce my side of the family to my kid, for the simple fact that there are people in my family who are just selfish. I made it my mission to avoid having negative people around my kids. I grew up in a severe level of negativity. So right now, where my body going, because I never got myself a time to take a break. I haven't taken a vacation over 20 years, so that's just me. When I say I watch my kid like a science project, it was a mission. I want to make sure I don't do what my parent did to me. When I listen to JT, I am proud that JT have that. I wish I had that on my side. It's not available. Because listen to Dr. McCombie for the past couple of weeks, young kids pick up things they see and observe. Am I wrong, Dr. McCombie? So when you have negative example available around your kids, you cannot stop them from learning it. They're going to pick it up one way or the other. This is why I always ask my son and my daughter questions. When they get out of hand, they get fired. I tell them, bring it down. I want you to hear, I want you to listen to my point. I'm not going to repeat myself. I will speak slowly. I ask questions with my son what he did wrong. What do you think we should have done different? I did the same with my daughter. I let my daughter know, that's your big brother. You got to show respect. You can't come out of line and disrespect your brother. Because if you're outside there and someone disrespects your brother, I know you want to go and jump on their neck. But still, you don't do that to your brother. I have to make sure I set guidelines so that they have respect for one another. Because I watch around me, I'm in the hood. I see people have no respect for their own parents or their siblings whatsoever. So I have to be the consistency whereby I lay the law down. It's not an easy task. It can be stressful, but I enjoy it. But I thought I would enjoy every single moment as a father. And I'm a grandfather too. I got 3 grandkids. 1 granddaughter, 2 grandsons. My grandson, both of them, even the middle one, when he see me, he want to wake me up and want me to play with him. My granddaughter, I give her the longest kid. I checked her. Were you behaving well? Are you respecting your mother? Are you respecting your father? If I hear that you're not doing well, you know you'll be on my bad side. You want to be on grandpa's bad side? I do the same thing with my grandkid. I did the same to my kid. I don't do favoritism. I'm not a fan of favoritism because I saw what happened to me as a child when you do favoritism. So when I say I took it as a science project, I had to be consistent. It's not easy, but I train myself to be that way for the sake of there will be no flip-flopping on my end. There will be no contradiction on my end. I had to learn from other great parents before me who were consistent with their kid and they had a consistent, well-mannered household. That's why I'm saying being a father, like you have to really want to be it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So sometimes I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't want to say this. People have been trying to jinx me since my youth because I'm so good with kids since I was my teen. Oh, you'll be a great father. I said, don't jinx me. Yeah, I've been told, oh, you'll be a great husband. No, don't jinx me because of the demeanor I carry.
Yeah.
I was walking, moving according to principles that I want to live my life based on. I am not perfect. I have flaws. I have weakness. I know that. I understand that. Just like now, if you see me, my body, I'm dealing with insomnia because I've been going through it for the past 2 years. But I don't know why. I'm trying to fight it. But what I'm not going to stop doing is being consistent.
Well, you're wide awake now, so listen. Well, but because we want to get into the final thoughts.
Yes, final thoughts. Yeah, I want to.
Our pain. Let's greet our pain is in the house.
Yes. Thank you for
hello, gentlemen.
What's up?
Thank you for chiming in. And we've been talking about fatherhood tonight. Again, this is Father's Day weekend, so people have been sharing their experiences on what they learned from their fathers, as well as what fatherhood has been like for us. But I want to end this final thought. I want to end this on sort of a positive note here. All right. I want all you guys to really think. If you need to close your eyes, close your eyes. All right. Sunday is Father's Day. Paint your perfect Father's Day. What would you want that Father's Day to be? If you've had it, if you want to share a great Father's Day that you had, that was the best one you ever had, or what would you like it to be like? I can share my worst. My worst was sitting in a theater for 4 hours because my kids' dance school always had their major recitals on Father's Day. So my kids are in two routines, 2 3-minute routines. I got to sit through a 4-hour show of tiaras and ballerinas and tap dancing for 2 hours. And invariably, their spots were in between the shows. And that's how I spent my Father's Day for years. So when they got out of dance school, that was some of the best Father's Days I had came out of that experience. But I'll shoot at the end. But you guys want to go around. If you want to share, what is paint a picture of your perfect Father's Day, or if you want to recollect on the best Father's Day that you ever had, we'll go around. Doctor, I know you have to jump off. Again, thank you as always for joining these panels and leading your expertise and your background and being transparent with us. So if you want to kick us off, sir, and you can sign off, jump off right after.
I'll do one sentence. Go ahead.
Let me say this, Doc. You killed it today, bro. Was that the day you did the show?
Sir Hill?
Sir Hill, man. I commend you big time, brother. You killed it, man.
Thank you.
You had me thinking. I was like, "Yep, I need some counseling because everybody got this problem.
Right,
we all got problems. We all crazy."
Right. Yes. Thank you. Actually, has two good shows in a row about trauma. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. I just want to say this for those who are fathers or plan to be a father. Please, when you get time, really think about what that means to you, because whatever you're going to be putting out there to your children, your daughters, your sons, whomever, whatever you're putting out there, that's what they're going to take on. So if your legacy is about this, your legacy is about that. So when your Father's Day comes up, how are you celebrating that? What are you celebrating? Are you just celebrating a day where they say let's barbecue and it's Father's Day? Or is it really about your family tradition Is it really about your mission as pouring into a family, as giving back to the community and giving back to the world overall, not just this generation, but 2 or 3 generations ahead? So know what your Father's Day means to you and celebrate it and enjoy every ounce of it. Appreciate you all. Take care. Peace.
God bless you. All right. All right, let's go next. Brother Driscoll. What is your perfect Father's Day? What's that looking like? You wake up in the morning, start with just describe. If you could have your perfect day, what would it be?
Oh, you're talking a perfect day.
Perfect day.
Perfect day. I would love to see my little one serve me breakfast in bed. And just huddle up around and under dad, and we do whatever is gonna make them smile and be happy the rest of the day. And what will really touch me, we all as dads, we sacrifice a lot. We do a lot of things that nobody sees. And I think to even just hear, I appreciate you from each person and why would be enough for me. I don't need to go out. I don't need anything that costs money. I think just that sentimental value of seeing everybody happy and just showing their appreciation to dad would be the world to me. I never had a bad Father's Day, but I will, just for an example, show my favorite Father's Day gift. This was a personalized book my wife made. And it's literally
that's beautiful.
Of me and my first daughter with her name and my name all throughout the book. And that, I don't know, that just did a lot to me. Like, something that simple to me as a dad was like, wow, that level of thought in it. And they got all of these different stories about our life and our journey together. That does more to me than, anything that we can do that's extravagant.
That is awesome. Oh, thank you for sharing.
Yes, sir.
Mandrell, I know you don't have kids yet, but again, just paint a picture, paint a dream for me. All right. Father's Day, Mandrell's house. What's that day gonna look like? What would you how do you envision that?
I honestly don't know. I haven't put any thought into it.
All right, put some thoughts into it. I mean, that's something to think about.
It wouldn't be a real answer. I mean,
I'm saying that you don't have to give me an answer now. If it's not there, it's not there. I'm just saying, but that's something I encourage you. Really think about that, like what that, because I know you're all, especially you're all about service. You're all about this. You're going to pour in and pour in and pour in.
I'm going to do my best.
Fathers that we talk about is recognition. How do you want to be recognized? And there's nothing wrong. I think one thing that we started the show out with is that we have to start, first of all, as men, we need to start recognizing each other and respecting each other as fathers in these spaces. And then, but then take your roses while you're alive. Give the roses while you're alive. So don't be so into the giving. That's something that I've had to come to just in general. We're good at giving, but we're terrible at receiving. So be in a position where you can receive, especially from the kids that you will have, the ways they want to show their appreciation for everything that you've given, and then take it. Don't just say, oh, no, you don't have to do that. No, receive the blessing that they're giving you because you poured into them. It's only right that you get that back. And that's certainly something that I pray for you that you'll be able to experience, in the future. So don't be so giving. No, you got to, take some of the blessing that goes with that. For sure. Okay.
Not a problem.
All right. CBN, Black David, what's perfect Father's Day? Just give me a picture.
In 30 seconds. No, literally, you're sitting up here reading War and Peace.
I'll tell you this. I don't really have what you call perfect Father's Day because I can't remember when I had the best father. My father was just like every other day. To be frank with you guys, I'm not even going to make them know whatsoever. So if I do it, they'll say, hey, happy Father Day, and that's just it. So I made it to the point I don't put too much emphasis because Father Day is not appreciated more than like Mother Day. Mother Day is a whole bunch of. So if anything, I want at a perfect Father Day, I want to get genuine appreciation. not fake appreciation. But
okay, so what does that look like? So just give one example of something your kids can do for you that would be meaningful or impactful to you.
That's a good question. I say I thought about it for years. I really don't know. They have to surprise me. Do something that out of the kind of the heart that it really means something to them.
Okay.
That's the thing, because let me tell you why I say that. When you grow up in a family where people are being fake to you, and you go up in a level of error betrayal, I got numb to expect anything from anybody. Billy got anything on my birthday. That was a regular thing. Billy got anything on Christmas. Those things became a regular norm to me, to the point where I'm numb to these things. So if no one appreciated me, I don't really get too offended. I didn't keep it pushing. I didn't know as a father I would do my task, regardless if no one acknowledged me or not. Because when we got to a point whereby you just got fed up, you just disconnect yourself from hoping somebody will appreciate you. You really don't bother yourself about it. I just hope they're genuine about it. That's why I can't even say where we're the perfect thing, because when I try to think about that, I get lost in my thought. So if anything, I'll continue to be the best that I can be, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
That's just me.
Hey, honestly, sir, I mean, what I would, again, I want this for every man. I think that one thing we need to start.
Why you think I play that song? Because that's exactly.
No, I get it.
I fall in that category because
I get it.
I can kill myself, work 2 jobs, and anything. Nobody cares.
I totally get it. So, but how are we going to break this cycle and get out of it? Because if you're still going to be in that mode where you're not expecting, you're not receiving, or you're not asking, or you're not communicating, I
communicate. That's a fun that I communicate. When I communicate these things, I notice it's not much of an imp. I'm not trying to make this up, but I've been noticing for a while in some environment. I'm from mixed African Caribbean. When I make these notes about it, they don't really make it a big deal at point unless you did something for them and it's what they wanted.
Mm.
If you don't do it, they're not going to appreciate. Even though you do something that they really needed, it just be passed as no big deal. So I got. When you think you got numb, I got numb. But sometimes I'll be expecting, hoping they will appreciate me. I tell what I would like to happen on Friday, never shows up. So I just kind of like, don't lose no sleep over this. What it is, it's not their fault. It's hard, and I just keep it. Do what I can do on my end. It sounds bad, but what can I do? I can't force them to appreciate it.
Right.
But with Mother Day, we got that. I try to get tired when I hear Mother Day. I'm like, whatever. Father Day come, it'll be a slap on the face. I have to get a sock, so that's what I'm all about.
Wow. All right.
Now I'll be honest though. On my birthday, my daughter go out of her plate and make me homemade cards. My daughter do that, and I keep them. Okay, it was genuine. I like genuine feeling, genuine appreciation.
Oh, sure.
I had dealt with so much fakeness throughout my life that I don't have respect for fake. Period. It pop on my radar quicker than you think. When I know somebody's fake, I can tell from a mile away. So this is why I want them to surprise me. Do something genuine I can really appreciate. My daughter she took the time out and make the birthday card for me. I keep them for years. One time my daughter look, you still have it? I said, yeah, I still have it. God appreciate it.
Right.
It was worth it. I like things that are genuine. This is why I don't do talking points when everybody else do. So this will motivate me to be a more genuine father. I'm not gonna be a fake father to my kid. I want to be consistent. If I can just be the very best father I can be on anything I can do, I want to be where my daughter can say, you know what, I trust my father, he would do this because this is who my father is.
Right.
And do with my son. That's the impact I'm trying to leave behind. That's why when I played that song earlier, I can resonate with it. It makes a lot of sense because a lot of fathers go through the same thing, and some just don't care anymore. Just they're not gonna take a day off of the responsibility.
Right.
We never do.
Right.
And that's just me. That's why I say I go to a lot of physical issues.
I got you. I'm still hoping for. I'm still hopeful though. I'm still hopeful for you though.
I hope so too.
JT, what's
Yes,
my
sir.
paint it? You're perfect. You're gonna wake up Sunday morning, and it's gonna be the best. What's the best Father's Day for JT? What's that looking like for you, sir?
I wake up Sunday morning. We're gonna be at Smoky Mountain, Tennessee.
Smoky Mountain,
And
Tennessee.
all of my
What's up
family.
there?
It's a campground.
Campground. Okay.
No camera. I mean, no phones. No internet. No nothing. Just family. I'm talking about as many generations as we can get in our family to come and just spend that whole weekend with each other, and be able to talk, and see. It's just something about seeing kids, the cousins, for them to be able to play and do what they do. The adults, we do what we do. My daughters be able to, pick my brain, pick their grandmother's brain, pick their mom's brain, pick the adults' brains while trying to figure it out. Like, it's very peaceful. The men go at some point, we go fishing. We all go, walking the trail and being, close to nature. Being close to nature while we're talking with one another. And we're not looking at no cell phones. We're not looking at no computers. We're just with each other and being able to have that moment. And it's just like, it'll just be a chaotic peace. That's perfect for me. That right there is perfect for me.
I heard that. Well, again, family of JT, if you get to hear this video, he put it out there. So because the hardest thing I know for me is, my kids ask me now, Dad, what do you want for Father's Day? So the fact that you already put it out there, sir, hey, if you're his kids, he already gave it to you.
Oh, I expressed it to him already. We already played it.
All right, so it's already so it's already in the works. Brother R. Payne, again, thanks again for joining us so late. And again, salute to you, sir, first for being
Hey, gentlemen.
Yes,
I'm sorry, I missed most of them.
35 plus years married, raised your kids to adulthood, 2 beautiful daughters. What's Father's Day, ideally Father's Day for you? What's that's looking for you, sir? You're going to wake up on Sunday morning. What's that, just paint a picture for me. What that's
yeah, I'll do that. It's funny, one of the things with society, Father's Day is just like a throw-in, right? We're just happy if somebody remembers, right? Say Happy Father's Day. So it's just men are starting to wake up, and we're starting to demand a little bit more on Father's Day. And they're starting to, I think maybe society is starting to recognize it a little bit more. I don't know if that, we can credit that to YouTube and social media, where men are starting to say, hey, listen, what about our at least one day of flowers?
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things for me, it's not much, especially now that my kids are grown. We have a Sunday tradition. I say it's a tradition. We have Sunday dinner. I usually cook it. And we sit around a table. And the last 2 or 3 years, because everybody's lives were so hectic. But I said, let me at least have one day where we all get around the table. But now that my kids are grown, we get around the table and have a food laid out, and then we start talking, right? We'll have a conversation. And it's kind of funny because at the dinner table, the conversations are adult conversations. So as a father, starting to hear my daughters, and I've heard this before individually, but I always take pleasure in hearing how they view life from their perspective now that they're older, right? Mm-hmm. One's 30, one's 24 now. And when they talk, I'm starting to say, these ain't no little girls,
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They have experiences, they have opinions, they have political leanings, they have all these kind of things. And both of my kids are millennials, so so they think, so a good Father's Day is being around a table, breaking bread and talking to them, with their mother still there, and we talk. Now, if I get a gift or I get something like that, that's great, a card. Or if we go out to dinner and I ain't paying, if I'm, because I pay for everything, right? So if they take me out to dinner, don't be looking at me, because we go out regular times. I have my girls with me. Both of them are working. Both of them are making money. And my wife, she's with me. And every time the bill comes, their arms are like alligator arms, man. It's all the way back here. They're just looking at me, right? And, it's so funny. So if they take me out, you're paying. Somebody else is paying. But, so just being around a family is a good, my immediate family. And just like I think JT, right? When you talked about being on your family reunion, we do a lot of those. And our family, it's not, sometimes we have a big one, but we never, at least 2 or 3 times a year, somebody finds some excuse to get the family together, whether it's a graduation, whether it's a party. I'm one of those kind of guys. With my younger ones, Gen Z, I have 2 Gen Z weddings coming up.
Nice.
They don't get married, right? So I'm the only one. They all have kids. And I said, well, when y'all getting married? Right? I said, I'm going to say it. I said, I don't care if you guys get married, but I said, you got this girl, you got that guy. When y'all getting married? You're having children. And we got 2 of them. They're not doing it just because I said it, but we got 2 weddings coming up.
Nice.
And there's so many people who are anti-marriage, which is crazy. But every time they see me and they talk to me, I talk to them about family. I said, you got kids? I said, where you going? Right? You ain't going nowhere. You tied to that lady, you tied to that guy for at least for at least 18 to 21 years, because you have the kid in a lifetime. After that, once you share a kid with somebody, it never goes away. So, but just on Father's Day, just for a recognition, being with my young ladies, my wife, that's all. I don't need enough. Get some phone calls for some people. Happy Father's Day. My Facebook kind of blows up. Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day. And that's fine with me. I don't need nothing special.
Yeah, same here, brother. You took a lot of my talking points right there. I mean, both you, JT, and us, we're all at the age now where, in Black David, see, this is something you have, hopefully you look forward to. The language changed to, Dad, where are we going for your Father's Day? Meaning they're going to get a free meal out of it, which is their only motivation for bringing it up. To now, Dad, where do you want to go for Father's Day?
Right.
Absolutely.
And they pick up the tab. And it doesn't matter what.
That's the problem. Your Father's Day is a free meal for them, and you pay.
That's what I'm saying. But that'll change. Now, so again, you're gonna have these dynamic, brilliant, intelligent, money-making kids in the near future. So they're gonna be coming to you saying, "All right, Dad, where we going? Where you want to go, Dad?" And take them up on the offer. Don't be like, "No, you don't have to take me out." No. Oh, you taking me out? Ruth, Chris, whatever it is,
No, I want to be surprised.
Listen, Dennis, before you go, let me say one thing.
Yeah.
One of the things I found out about all the African brothers that come on these panels, they like to tell stories. I mean, it's got to be a cultural thing, right? So you gotta be patient. Like Ekene, Trigger Mike. Some guys say, "Oh, this guy's story." I mean, I like that, man. These guys, man. You say, "Hey, one little question, man." They giving you parables and shit, man. All that kind of stuff.
In my country. That's how they started out. In my country.
Let me explain why. Pain. When we are young kids, either our uncles or our grandfathers will grandma for so much parable that our brain gets scrambled. Now, some of the parable actually help, because years later, when you start to think about that same parable your uncle told you years ago, you didn't understand. You're like, oh, so that's what it means. So when I say we got hammer with principle, with parable, structure, and order. You ever see a young kid look like their brain got fried? That's us.
That's cool. That's cool.
But when we got older, that thing echoed, and we got to understand it. That's why we have all these stories, because this is why I say with the Black community, it's missing. These key factors are needed to keep not only the family in place, but how the men be made as real men, not or weekly.
Well, it's funny that you say that, but because the reason why I recognize it, because that's how I kind of raised my daughters. I never told him anything when I when I had to admonish him or punish him for anything. I always had stories for him, and reason why. The reason why they're getting this, because I never hit my kids, but and I didn't have to, but you had to talk to them because you got to let them know why they can't do this or this, they can't do that, and so I kind of got used to telling them those stories. So
absolutely,
it's funny. So that's why I could recognize it, but so that's why it's not a rib. But you got to get paid with us American guys. You got to get a little patient with that with the African.
Right. If you don't take it from me. If you gotta take a chance to go to visit Ghana for a tour and everything, your tour guide will give you plenty of stories that you think it's fake, but it's actually legit because it connects to a lot of things that come with history. That's what I had to make fun of my culture because it's always a story for this, always a story for that. But when I start to look back, I was like, there's a reason behind this shit. Why it's being told. I get it now. There's a reason why they're trying to, how you have that lighthouse and that light keep you anchored in the right place.
Right.
Those stories, those parable is meant to keep you in place. So you have that reminder, what, I gotta tell what my uncle said this. I gotta tell what my grandfather said this because there's a reason behind it. At first, I did not understand. But it took me time to ponder on that. I get it. Look at the millennial kid. They think they know everything. They think, oh, man, you don't know Jack. But when they realize what you've been telling them for the longest, it now come back and start to sink in. But what happened? They become you now. Now they're going to tell the next generation their story. With the young one, you in this story, like, God, oh, these old folk, they got all this story when I tell them. Come on, we all been there. Yeah. We've been knuckleheads, haven't we?
Yep.
So I get it, I understand it, but it's needed because when that is needed, the chance is these kids will learn from along the way. That's why I emphasize we need to bring back that tribe. When you have a tribe, then you can build a strong community. With a tribe, you have a strong value system, which is why if you ever see my kid or my grandkid, they're trying to choke me with affection. I don't force them to give me affection. They will choke me themselves. My granddaughter, my grandson, and I will love it. But I have an impact in their life. That's the reason why I do what I do. Without no break, without no timeout. Anyway, I will say this, Dax, my father brother, Canadian born Nigerian, I like your song, I play in the front. I hope you like the show if you ever see it. Because like I say, that song I play is an anthem for all men. Maybe a lot of men can recognize their place in that song, especially those in the military, because it speaks a lot about what we go through as men. And that's why I picked that song for that reason. Other than that.
Well, definitely, again, the link to that song has been put in the chat. So, certainly for anyone who can go back and listen to it and share it and
I'll post it again.
They'll be impacted by it, and maybe we can go into it in a deeper conversation on a future show. But my perfect Father's Day is doing absolutely nothing. Because like you said, RP, typically Sundays, I typically cook dinner. So there's a tradition in my house. I usually cook dinner on Sunday night. And I say, look, I don't want to cook nothing. I want tradition. Usually for lunch, I get a hot pastrami sub. Right, that's my lunch. And now my daughters are like, what you want for dinner? They take care of it. They can cook it if they want. If they want to take me out, I don't care. And if they want to throw in a gift or something, but it's good now because now my daughters are starting to have understanding. And it's really interesting because the conversations, like you said, RP, the conversations are so adult now, where now a lot of stuff that we talked about years ago now it's starting to sink in. And now you're starting to see the feedback. We were just having a impromptu session. I was talking to my daughters about dating and both men and just re-emphasizing what I've been telling them all these years. And now the conversations were such like, I'm starting to understand that my daughter just got out of something which like you wasting time with this guy, and it's like I knew it wouldn't go anywhere, but you tried to keep it on the down low, but I could have told you that this may not work for you. So now it's starting to have a little bit more resonance now with the conversation. So again, it's a good place to be in. And I think for a lot of the fathers, I would encourage as we close out the show that, my biggest prayer for all of you, certainly beyond just having a happy Father's Day, but that all the work that you're doing, all the seeds that you've been sowing, all of the lessons, the teachings, the times you were there, the investment that you made in your children, that it comes back to you 30, 60, 100-fold, that your efforts are not in vain, and that you can certainly enjoy the fruits of your labors. And that's what I wish for every father, those who want to be fathers. I pray that certainly you get the woman who can enable you to do that with, because that's going to be important. Who you decide to pick as a partner matters in terms of the kids that you're going to have. So for those who are looking for that you get with the right woman, where you can have that experience, even if it's a step situation, but you can still have, that you'll be allowed to and grow into fatherhood. And for the young guys that are out there who are just becoming fathers now, you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. We've all been there. And so, so again, there's no guidebook to this. There's no rule book to this. We share ideas on fatherhood here. Again, supermarket approach here. Take what you can use and discard the rest, because there's no manual that's given for this, but we do the best that we can. We look to grow, and that's why we need more of these sessions where men can come together as collective, as fathers, as wannabe fathers, as guys who's raised children to adulthood, grandfathers. We need to create this griot. We need to create this linking of masculine energy together, so that we can all be better at this seemingly impossible task. But I'm just encouraged by the men that are here, who are in the process, who want to be in the process, who've completed the process, and let's just continue to grow this platform. So again, for Black Man Unfiltered, again, he was at a men's conference tonight with his son. And like I said, I knew it was going to be whack, because Dak Prescott was one of the. So I knew this wasn't going anywhere, but at least he was there with his son. The important thing is not who was speaking, but he was there with his son. All right. So again, spending that time with your kids, even under harsh circumstances like listening to Dak Prescott, but still, the idea that he was spending that time breaking bread with his sons, taking time off, taking time from these platforms. Again, brothers, don't necessarily, we all love being in this space, but don't live in this space. Don't let it take all your time. You use your time wisely to spend with those who you need to at the times you need to be there for those who need you. So again, thank you again, Black Man, for allowing for this open dialogue, and we can have this conversation. And again, hopefully this is fruitful for those who've been out there. Yeah, Black David.
One more thing I want to add out. I want to give a shout out to MTR, because recently he lost his father to cancer. And he has said a lot of great things how his father impacted his life on many levels. So if MTR, you're hearing this, we also want to dedicate this show to your father, because it seems like your father has been a great deal to you and made an impact. Because if you watch his last recent video, I watched it and I couldn't watch it no more because I was about to cry, because I can understand when you lose a strong father figure who was. I'll just say, go to his channel, watch that video, listen to what he was saying, how his father put him first over his own health. That's the epitome of what a great father really does. He don't really care about his help, he care about his son or his daughter or his kid's well-being. He want them to have the very best. So I will tell you guys, when this show is over, you can go to his channel. You can give him prayer, whether we watch that last video he put out there. Because he was dealing with it. He didn't know his father had cancer, and we treated his spine. But he made it seem like it's not a big deal, but he made sure his son was doing great. So that's another example I want to look at. So I'll say shout out to MTR and everyone out there who have a father who has a big impact in their life. They do Mandrell. And they had a great father just like that too, with a big impact in his life. So I really shout out to that too.
Absolutely. All right, gentlemen. Well, again, enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll see you next time on Black Man's Unfiltered Network. Peace. Have a great night.
Peace. All
See you
right,
next
take it
time.
easy.
Yes, sir.
All right, gentlemen.
All right.
Go. Fire by night and a pillar of vapor by day. Walk through the desert, but when you admire the light, see the villains are paper mache. I'm on the way to the promised land, no contraband. I'm an honest man, I'm coming. Y'all met me, I'm set free, playing my part like the Red Sea. Man, I'm from heaven, I'm here with my brethren. The volume's 11, now we're getting rowdy. Swing from the scaffolding, spiritual happenings, miracles are all around me. This ain't no balcony, I'm in the front.